Just making sure the
Alright.
settings are all good.
We're live. Twitch chat off to that side so that way I can keep an eye on that. Alright. I need to make sure. Okay. Just making sure I have everything set up on this side.
Yeah, it looks like the patch is for the Saturn version.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a Saturn.
Emulator, you mean?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Greetings, my friend.
Would you mind doing me a favor?
A favor? Certainly. What is it?
Could you start playing the tune from that book I gave you?
Very well. Just tell me when to stop.
Alright. Yep, and this is what we needed to do. We needed to talk to the human princess and have her start playing the music.
Alright.
So now we just move forward. Before we move into the forest, the darker it becomes. We see more titans scattered throughout the trees. The forest is lousy with titans. There are almost as many of the giants as there are trees in the forest. Alright, and then we finally move up here. Titans have gathered around one tree here. High in its branches, you see something made of crystal. Clearly the focus of the Titans' attention. Crystal fragments. When you look closely, you notice that the crystal object is a fragment, a piece of something larger. It is roughly octagonal and has the naming room for the world of stone carved into it. You guess that it is a fragment of the copy of the entire world seal carved from crystal. Now we talk to the elf prince.
Yes, my friend? What can I do for you?
Climb up that tree and get that crystal!
Could you climb the tree and get that crystal?
Alright, I'll be back in a moment.
Yep. He shimmies on up. The prince tiptoes around the unnaturally still giants, vaults up the tree, and grabs the crystal fragment. He climbs part of the way down, looks nervously around at the titans, and drops heavily to the ground. He runs up and delivers the crystal to you, sweating and puffing. Hell yeah. Alright. So we go ahead and we do that.
Yep.
And now we leave. Exiting the forest, you notice a deep rumbling behind you. You realize that the titans further in are probably out of the range of the flute's melody. They've fallen out of thrall, noticed their precious relic has been stolen, and have started rampaging directly toward it, and, not coincidentally, you.
They're coming and they'll be here before you know it. The flute's no good anymore. When they find us with the relic, they'll tear us apart.
The relic! That's what they're really after! We've got to get rid of it!
Yep. Yet suddenly the booming of the giant footsteps totally drowns out the melody. So, we want to go ahead and pull the branch. Copying the movement of the young dwarf, you pull up the twisted branch sticking out of the stump. The door pops open, and you see a narrow tunnel that leads straight down.
Yeah, I'll be right back in a little bit.
So we just put the crystal, fragment crystal in the stump. We toss it into the hollow stump, and we hear it bump against the sides as it falls deep into the dwarven caves below. The titans come smashing through the forest, no longer concerned about what they crush in their path. They completely ignore you and your companions as they focus on the stump in the middle of the clearing. After a couple of attempts, they slowly begin to realize that even the smallest of their number is never going to be able to fit there inside down the dwarven tunnel. Although this fact may have stopped someone even slightly smarter, the titans aren't even slowed. With bare hands, they begin to excavate their own tunnel. Dwarf curses and battle cries float up from the hole. Haha. And compared to the silent, motionless tree-like state you were accustomed to, these frantic wild titans are like tornadoes. They leave a swath of destruction through the forest as they search for their artifact. Alright, so now I just go to the Citadel.
I was standing there in the tunnels arguing with an elder about opening up the vault when the crystal gem dropped from above, right on the elder's head. Before I could even laugh, I heard the pounding of the giants trying to get inside the tunnel. The elder went crazy. He sounded the alarm and opened the vault right then and there.
The crystal gem dropped from above. Which one? Was it Steven?
I I grabbed both the crystal
Yeah.
gem and the golden hammer and took a back tunnel here. I guess that I could get rid of my obligation to you and lead the giants back to their home. Here's the hammer you wanted. I'm glad to have been able to repay you. Now all we have to do is wait for the giants to come home. They'll arrive, the doors will open, and everyone will be happy. I hope.
As hard as she tries, she can't conceal her fear at the pounding footsteps that get closer with every passing moment. You direct the three youngsters to put their respective symbols into the recesses on the Citadel door. None of them grasps your meaning entirely, but you assure that all of them will be made clear shortly. When the last symbol is slid into place, the doors swing inward, revealing a gleaming city, an ancient city of the Sartan. The Titans arrive, legs pumping, but when they come upon the gaping doors of the Citadel, they lose all interest in the crystal fragment. Instead, they file into the city and take positions in front of the massive machines, as if they knew what they were doing.
There's room enough for all of the races here. If we could live together, we could do it better than ever.
In fact, it seems that they do, as after a few minutes of tinkering and button pressing, the city comes to life. Lights flare and the entire Citadel begins to hum pleasantly. The Mensch wander in, their eyes wide with wonder. Thinking about your quest, you regain the crystal fragment from the distracted dwarf, and the sentiment is echoed by his two companions. Mensch go on, but something else has attracted your attention. An archway, only a few dozen feet inside the Citadel, is decorated by the fire seal piece. A flare just inside the Citadel's gate catches your eye. You see Zifnad coughing an ineffectually blushing suit from his robes. He looks up, sees you as well, and smiles.
Haplo, my boy! I knew you could do it! They put their symbols into the face of a mysterious building without even knowing why. Quite an achievement if you ask me. That shows leadership qualities. You've inspired loyalty in these children. They trust you. Does your heart good to see them together, doesn't it? Too bad it's only for a little while, It's a good thing they don't know that you're just scouting for your lord. That soon he will destroy these children's lives for his dreams of conquest. That would just ruin their day. Better keep this between you and me if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he turns to look at the three men running through the Citadel, exclaiming their delight at each new discovery, puffing up his chest and wiping away a tear.
Don't worry, Haplo. I won't interfere in your mission. In fact, I have a present for you. I tried to take up a collection around the office, but no one there seems to like you very much. I wasn't going to say anything, but they all think you're on the side of evil. That doesn't make you very popular. Most of their ideas of a going-away present took the form of a punch in the mouth.
Yep, you're so dumbfounded by the Sartan speech, you just stare at him without saying a word.
I stuck up for you, though. He's not a mindless puppet, I said. He has very good reasons for wanting to destroy everything. I'm sure he's thought this whole thing through. They seemed a little doubtful, but I know my old buddy Haplo. You'll come through in the end. Anyway, since no one chipped in, I got you this.
He hands you an ordinary rock.
A genuine, 100% natural, roughly spherical, all-purpose evil combating device. Really? I know you're thinking, Zifnab, how can this obviously rare and well-crafted document holder also combat evil? Well, fear not. This particular paperweight is magic. That's right.
It's just an ordinary rock.
As the stone approaches true evil, it will glow. Soon, you will encounter an evil greater than any you've ever known, even in the labyrinth. And it has magic. Horrible, powerful, destructive. Much different than the magic that we command. The rock will react to this magic. The closer you get, the brighter it will glow. When you are in its very presence, crush the rock. You'll know the right time.
What will happen when I crush it?
I don't know, but I'm sure that it will be impressive. And just in case it doesn't work, use the backup plan. Hurl that sucker. I find that a nice solid puck upside the head always slows evil down.
I mean, it's pretty solid backup plan.
Now you're thinking, how can he afford to give this away? Well, that's very astute of you, Haplo. I can't afford it. Of course, I'm taking a loss on this transaction, but when your friends start asking you, where'd you get that great evil combat up? You tell them you got it from old Zifnab, and soon they're telling their friends, and they're telling their friends. Eventually,
So word
everyone
of
has
mouth.
a Zifnab special.
Hey, DM.
Hey.
Take Prion Seal Piece, Haplo. Go back to your lord. But remember what you've seen here. Remember these people. Consider carefully exactly what you are doing and why.
He turns and exits the Citadel. By the time you reach the doorway to follow, he's disappeared into thin air. Yep. I'll just go ahead and yoink! So, yep. The Titans are gathered in a chamber so brightly lit you have to squint to make them out. Perhaps this is why they were created without the ability to see. Alright, so now that we've got the fire seal piece, we're basically done here. We're just gonna go ahead and we're just gonna leave. So might as well go ahead, and since we've got the crystal fragment, we might as well just go ahead and use magic and cast rune transfer on the crystal fragments to the steering stone. Go ahead and get that out of the way. And let's head back to the Nexus. Alright. So... Hey, Zar. Here you are. You hand over the fire seal piece and quickly recount your experiences on Prion. Zar listens closely to your description of Zifnab and the Titans, obviously troubled by both encounters.
Excellent, my son. You exceed even my best expectations. Not only did you recover Prian's seal piece, but you have discovered a living Sartan. I doubt that he is alone, as he claims, and the addition of these Titans to his forces means that he is someone to be reckoned with. I will have to adjust my plans to compensate. We might have to destroy this citadel to be sure of the giant's destruction. It is a shame you couldn't bring Zifnab back with you for further questioning.
I mean, even if we did bring him back, he'd probably just frustrate Zar with all of his shenanigans and chicanery.
You have
Yeah,
the
then you
front of the
force
world's
kill
soul.
him.
Use that to place the naming rune of Abarak upon your steering stone, and then leave as soon as you can.
Already done!
Events are occurring at a fast pace. If even one Sartan knows you exist, we must assume they all do. But we need information. I must know what the other realms are like, where the Sartan's forces are, and what they number. And I need those seal pieces. Good luck, my son.
Alright,
Zifnab seemed mad, but he genuinely cared about the mensch there. He had a plan to make their lives better.
Who knows how far gone that Sartan was? Living in solitude with those mensch would have driven anyone insane. No wonder he was obsessed with them. Hopefully, when the world is reformed and we destroy the Citadel, he'll disappear along with it.
If you destroy the Citadel, won't that kill the mensch that have moved inside?
Are you questioning my tactics? Don't you understand that the threat represented by the Titans far outweighs the importance of the lives of a few mensch? Don't get personally involved with them, Haplo. This is war. There are always sacrifices.
hey, Zar's just a stand-up guy, isn't he?
What about Zifnab's dragon? Do you consider him a threat?
If I believed in him, I would. Don't take this personally, my son, but dragons are fairy tales, legends, nothing more. This Zifnab played on your gullibility. I've read that the Sartan used to command the art of illusion. He must have created the dragon for your benefit, to keep you from killing him. It worked.
I don't know.
didn't
That heavy breathing lizard seemed real to me.
Yeah, same.
That's enough for right now. I'd like to talk to you later if you don't mind.
it? Very well. I'll be here.
Alright. So, we've got through the first 2 worlds. And now we go to the world of stone.
Are we gonna get stoned?
You call upon the power of the steering stone to take you through the death gate and into Abrak, the world of stone. To get stoned! 420 Blizzard, motherfuckers! No, I'm not looking forward to this. Your ship flies from the Death Gate into a river of lava. Walls of dark rock enclose you in a giant cavern so large that it actually houses a city carved from the stone. You dock the ship a small distance away. Your ship floats in a river of lava alongside a stone embankment. In the distance, you see a dark city. Here, a hulking figure shuffles from a dried up pond to a field, long dead. Behind him, a cave opens to a cavern wall. Beyond the river of lava, you see a city in the distance. So, the dead worker? Hey. Stop, talk to me. Hulking corpse just stares at you.
Greetings. Who are you?
Who? Name Jeffro.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Doing? Water. Plants.
It's a nice bucket.
That's a nice bucket. Would you give it to me?
The corpse looks at the bucket for a moment and silently hands it over to you. Yep. And then he just continues doing what he's doing. We're just gonna leave him for now. Enter the cave. Alrighty, the shallow cave ends in an unnatural wall covered by carved dwarven symbols. A coiled snake studies us. We're gonna take a save. Alrighty, we want to take the rocks. Take the rocks. Put the rocks in the pail. And now we want to head out of here and into the house. Surrounded by stone buildings of the deserted town, including a clock tower to the east and an elegant residence to the north. Yep, we stand in the foyer of a small house. Stairs lead to another level, and double doors are set in the east wall. Go up.
The smallest people made their home.
Yep.
In caves and caverns.
Cramped nursery holds a few items. An empty crib, a tiny table, a rocking chair occupied by an old woman. We're just gonna take this tea set if you don't mind, Granny.
Which way you are.
Alright. Give the tea set to the dead butler. We're just gonna go ahead and talk to him for a bit.
How may I be of assistance, sir?
The decaying butler attempts to draw himself up, but the weight of the chain around his waist keeps him slumped over.
Who are you?
My name is Aramas. I serve Balthazar, the master of the house. His work is very important and cannot be disturbed, so he retains me and a few other servants to handle the domestic work.
Who else does Balthazar retain to serve him?
In addition to myself, Balthazar employs a nanny who cares for the master's young children, and a housekeeper who does the cooking as well.
There's a housekeeper? Isn't it kind of dirty around here? I'd say this housekeeper is slacking off.
The house is a little dusty, but I'm sure she'll get on the job soon.
I mean, there's also the fact that you've got fucking dead people walking around. So,
Who is
A dead
Balthazar?
corpse never hurt anyone.
Is
I'll be right back.
personal necromancer to the king of Karn Telest. He's one of the most celebrated sorcerers in the city.
What important work is he doing?
He does what all necromancers do. He resurrects and sustains the dead so that they can serve the living. But he also spends much of his time researching new magic arts. It's not a very popular activity among other necromancers. In fact, it used to be a crime. But as my master was mentor to most of the others, and because he is a man of power and influence, his research isn't questioned. Not that Balthazar would care in any case.
What magic arts is he researching?
What do I look like? A necromancer? I'm just his personal servant. I don't pry into his work. It could be hazardous to my health.
what health? You're dead.
Actually, you look like a corpse. I doubt your health could deteriorate much more.
There's no need to be rude.
All right, fair.
Why
Got it.
can't he be disturbed?
That's
An
fair.
interruption at the wrong time could have disastrous results. His old butler interrupted him once. My first job was to scrape his entrails off the walls.
That's a lovely image.
Is that why that door is locked?
Yes, he takes his breaks at certain times, and only then is it safe to enter. Soon it will be time for his tea. I'm waiting for the housekeeper to bring it.
Whoop-de-doo. Guess what we got?
Enough about your employer.
As you wish.
It's by the way, yeah, it's thundering where I am right now, so
Oh.
I don't know if I don't know how long I'll be on. If I'm off, that's why.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Where is everyone?
Where is who? Whom did you expect to find?
Actually, I will be right back.
I believe you'll find the children upstairs with the nanny, and the master hard at work in his study.
Why are you standing around? Aren't you dead?
Dead? Dead tired, maybe. I don't get enough of rest. Lately, even the act of standing upright has become difficult. I need a vacation.
What is this place?
Well, this is the city of Telestia, one of the oldest and grandest cities in Abarak, aside from the city.
Oh. And suddenly the voice acting just cut out.
And we're very proud of our accomplishments. Telestia was built by the dwarves for the other mensch races when they were all still alive. The dwarves themselves lived in caves not too far from here.
That was weird. Why did the sound just cut out all of a sudden?
Oh.
Say, we've lived here for thousands of years. We're all very proud of our accomplishments. All right.
Some of the dwarves' artistry remains throughout the city. For example, the iron statue in the clock tower is ancient. It is the exact likeness of Clytus the first in the line of dynasts who have ruled over Abarak. The detail is excellent. Even the royal scepter, still carried by Clytus XIV, is a perfect replica of the original. They say that the statue was made by Clytus I's personal dwarf slave after the dwarf went mad. The madness obviously didn't affect his artistic talent, though.
Alright.
What happened to the other races?
The weaker races died off shortly after they were transplanted to this world. They didn't have strong enough magic to survive the harsh environment of Abarak.
Where exactly did the dwarves live?
I believe they once lived in caves just outside of the city. I can't be certain, however, that it isn't simply legend. The region hasn't been explored for a long time.
Where is Karn Nekros?
It's at the core of the world. I've never been there. In fact, no one in this Karn has. We've never traveled outside of the city. We've never had to.
Does the Dynast rule this city?
Not really. We've never even seen him. Our king has ruled Telestia for ages. The Dynast only rules here on paper.
Is this scepter anything special?
Of course. It is the scepter of rulership. It gives incredible magic power to he who wields it. The original Dynast, Clytus I, created the scepter, and his line has used it to secure their leadership ever since. No one would dare oppose a Dynast who has control of the scepter.
Why did Clytus' slave go mad?
The dwarf was the first experiment in necromancy. Some say that the art wasn't perfected when Clytus I brought his slave back to life, and that insanity was the result. Afterward, Clytus banished the slave back to the ancestral dwarven lair to sit in solitude forever.
So this is a sort of a reference to what actually happened in the books. So in the Deathgate novels specifically, the art of necromancy requires that a body has to have been dead for a minimum of 3 days before the magic can be utilized to bring that person back to life. Otherwise, and the reason is that it requires that 3 days for the soul to properly leave the body. If not, then if bodies were resurrected within that 3-day window, they come back as something called a Lazar, which is essentially like an insane, bloodthirsty monster that is still undead. It is not a fun thing to happen.
This didn't affect the dwarf's devotion to his lord, however. When a body is resurrected, it learns very little, and it usually reverts to doing whatever it did during life. The dwarf continued to worship Clytus I. He even carved the statue in the clock tower to honor him. Few believe that Clytus was deserving of such an honor, but even fewer will admit that in public. Clytus XIV reveres his ancestor, and no one speaks ill of either of them without fear of being turned to dust.
Enough about this place.
As you wish.
You're as interesting as a corpse. This conversation is over.
As you wish.
Alright, well, let's go ahead and give the tea set to the dead butler. Alright, you hand the tea set to the dead butler, he accepts it gravely and looks over the double doors, and then just waits.
How may I be of assistance, sir?
Alright, you have the tea.
Now that you have the tea, what are you waiting for? Open the door and give it to your master.
Yes, I do have the tea, but I must wait until the appointed time until I open the door. Otherwise, I might interrupt a vital experiment. That would be disastrous for Balthazar's research, and perhaps for myself as well.
Alright.
What time is tea served?
The 4th hour. I'll recognize it when the tower clock strikes 4 bells. He expects his tea at the same time every day.
You're as interesting as a corpse. This conversation is over.
As you wish.
Alright. Go ahead and get out. So now that's the tower clock. The tower clock, circular face has 16 marks around the edge. The single hand points to just before the second mark. So we want, to go to the clock tower. And, climb the ladder. A ladder attached to the tower wall leads up the clock's mechanism, but the ladder is broken. Some rungs are missing, some merely split. The ladder is actually no longer usable. So let's go ahead and take the rope. And a metal hook's tied to the rope hanging down. Can we take the hook? No, it's firmly attached. Alright. Climb the rope. We grab the hanging rope and haul ourselves up. We stand on a small platform behind the clock's mechanism. The back of the clock face takes up the west wall, so we want to turn the crank. With both hands, you see that you turn the crank and wind the rope until around the drum till you see the hook. The drum locks when the rope has been drawn entirely up. So we want to put the pail of rocks on the hook. Yep, you hang the bucket on the hook, the weight of the rocks pulls as the rope wrapped around the clock's drum, and it begins to unwind, turn the drum, and move the clock's gears. Alright, so turn the time dial just before the 4th mark. Yep. So we want to just before the 3rd mark. Alright. Wait for the clock to chime. Turn the... Right, and pull the release lever. As soon as you pull the release lever, the drum starts spinning uncontrollably. The rope gradually unwinds until it almost reaches the ground. So, we head down. We go into house. Yep. And enter the study. Oh, wait, no. What? Damn it! Gonna have to... Tenth, 11th, 12th, 13th, 16th, 17th, or 2nd, 4th. Overwrite the saved game. There you go. This is a room of learning. A few books and papers are scattered across every surface, but there's room for much more. Alright. Now we just wait for the butler to disappear. Yep, time passes. The dead butler jerks in emotions and shuffles out the double doors, closing them behind him. So now we want to take the book. Is there anything else in here that we want to grab while we're here? I don't think so.
Alright, I'm back.
Alright. So we want to go...
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's read the book. I record these notes in no particular order with no particular format. Should this text be read by others other than myself, I can but apologize in advance. My name is Balthazar, and I am the king's personal necromancer. My duties include raising and maintaining the royal servants, though my deeper interests lie in the pursuit of other lost magical arts. The following notes comprise the results of a lifetime of research into these arts, as well as my personal musings on these and other matters. I've never considered the practice of necromancy to be on strong moral ground. We've established that in order to survive in this harsh world, the dead are required to serve the living. Their labor supports our existence, but do we truly know what we're doing? What exactly are we bringing back? And how do our tamperings affect the rest of the wave? The dead never appear especially unhappy, merely confused. In their own unfathomable minds, they exist in a time previous to their deaths. They perform the duties which they performed in life. In fact, it's almost impossible to teach the dead anything new. Their capacity to focus on unfamiliar tasks is minimal. The corpse can be given new orders, but in due course, depending on the nature of the particular specimen, it will inevitably revert to modes of behavior it demonstrated in life. There is no harm done when the tasks that the specimen performed in life have some application after death, but sometimes those tasks have little or no worth in our world. and yet the corpse living mentally in its former reality cannot be persuaded to abandon its behavior. Occasionally, the behavior can be modified to one useful purpose, but more often than not, all we can do is ignore them, which strikes me as a regrettable waste of manpower. Nevertheless, even the Dempsey's corpse can be used for menial tasks, and this becomes their primary value. Corpses can be made to perform functions which the living cannot or would not perform. I cannot recall a time when battles were waged by living soldiers. Why trouble ourselves when we have available so many who have already fallen? Their insensitivity to pain allows them to sustain blows that would cripple a living soldier. The dead don't stop until they can no longer move. In addition to war, corpses can be inducted to undertake all potential harmful tasks, such as fending off attacks from would-be predators. Claws and poison stings are fearful only to those who are aware of the consequences. Personally, I feel that we should be focusing our magic on keeping ourselves alive, rather than resurrecting ourselves from death. With the plague more rampant than ever, we are fighting a losing battle. Even now, the dead outnumber the living. Whenever I begin to research a new spell, I always start by attempting to build runes onto established spells. Sometimes an entirely new spell can be discovered by adding a single rune onto a totally unrelated spell. This was the case with Possession, the art of casting one's soul into a lower life form. I started by taking some basic runes and building onto them. Many of the standard spell bases turned out to be dead ends. I forged through some of my ancient texts without much success, but I did discover an obscure warding spell of awesome power. One wouldn't think that a warding spell could be manipulated into a possession spell, but forceful spells are sometimes born from the most unlikely of sources. The warding spell has a long history. I don't know if it's ever been used in Abarak. It can only be cast by a group of very powerful Sartan. The spell creates a huge shield that repels any foreign magic. I remain uncertain as to its original purpose, and the diagram of the rune structure is as follows. Using this as a base, I experimented by adding variations of runes onto the end. The process was long and tedious, but as it happened, only one rune was needed to fashion an altered spell. The diagram of the new spell is as follows. The result was this Possession spell. Testing it proved somewhat difficult, and there are certain limitations inherent in its magic. One can only cast one's soul into a lower life form, such as the Pukas we see use as beasts of burden. One must have physical contact with the target. The soul transfers through touch, so the spell cannot be cast over distance. And when one is inhabiting the possessed body, the original body is rendered immobile and helpless. I have some theories regarding the dynamics of the spell. If the original body is for some reason destroyed, the soul should be capable of continued existence in the new body. Eventually, however, that soul will forget its previous existence and come to think and behave in accordance with the inclinations of the possessed body, but even then, the original soul should prove retrievable by the application of certain spells. It might be possible to reconstruct the original body by using the host body while the soul still exists. Unfortunately, my research has not revealed the spells required to accomplish this, the knowledge which would have been of great comfort during the test phase of Possession. The extent of our lost knowledge is shameful. Surely our ancestors had access to these innumerable other magical spells, and I'm merely passing well over well-trodden ground. If only my own library was more complete. Another art that has been intrigued me for some time is illusion. I have many books on the subject, though none of them detail the entire spell. The use of this magic produces insidious results. The spell speaks directly to the reasoning center of the brain of higher animals, such as the Sartan, the Patron, and even the Mensch races. The spell persuades the brain to accept something that is there when it is not, or something that isn't there when it is. For example, an illusion spell can create a table in the middle of an empty room. Even though the person viewing this table might grasp that the table is an illusion, he will not be able to pass his hand through it because the spell has convinced his brain otherwise. Possibilities abound for employing this spell, and I regret that all attempts to reproduce it have left me with naught to show for my efforts. However, I have been somewhat more successful in researching the Unravel illusion spell by approaching it from reverse. My reasoning is that I might be able to build the spell by first determining how to break an illusion. At the time of this writing, I have not yet discovered the spell, but I suspect that I am very close. I knew that this day would come. Waters become more scarce by the day. The fields of Karn grass are withering, and the lake, our primary water source, is drying up. Soon the lake will be nothing but mud and then little more than rock and dust. The Colossus must be failing. When our ancestors built it, the Colossus was intended to last forever, heating our world, melting the sea of ice above, and distributing the water throughout. Its magic is dying. We must travel back into the core of Abarak, where our ancestors originated, where our remaining magic is strongest. Life will still be possible there. Although all I've seen are pictures and descriptions in my texts, I'm sure that if we could examine the Colossus firsthand, I might be able to determine the problem and help to correct it. There is no other choice. We shall sail back to Karn Nekros, to the palace of Clytus XIV, the current dynast, on the northwestern edge of the Fire Sea. Out of respect, we shall beseech His Majesty for permission to live in Karn Nekros while the Colossus is being repaired. I don't anticipate any resistance. Who would refuse refugees, especially ones eager to help correct the problem? And, as I have stated, we have no choice but to go, for life in Telestia will shortly become unfeasible. The problem of transporting the dead is an extremely challenging one. Many of them, removed from their familiar surroundings, will grow disoriented. 3 at least will find it impossible to adapt, so we've decided to leave them behind. The first is my own servant, Aramas. He's been with my family for as long as I remember. Although his thoughts are as clear as the best of the dead, he is simply too frail to undertake the journey. I will leave him here where he is comfortable. The second is my nanny. Lately, she has fallen victim to a repetitive behavior, that of reading children's stories over and over again. Should the book she loves be taken away from her, she is despondent until it is returned. Not only will she be useless to us where we are going, I doubt she could survive the trip intact. The last is Jethro, one of the crop workers. He is among the most physically well-developed corpses we have, but his brain is like a sieve. He waters those crops as if they were still growing, as if there were still water to pour on them. If he is instructed to do anything else, he will perform that task for a few moments, only to wander right back to watering his crops. We cannot spare one of the living to supervise him by continually reminding him to accompany us, and we haven't the time to train one of the dead to do it. So it is simply best to leave him here. I leave these notes for you to find, reader. Their purpose is to shed light on who we are and where we have gone, so that you may follow in our path. Do not remain here. Life is impossible. Follow us to the core, where we have a fighting chance.
Why do I get the feeling things went wrong when he beseeched His Majesty?
Yeah. Alrighty, so we went ahead and we did that. So let's go ahead. We've learned 2 spells. We replace it in our inventory. Let's go ahead and get out of here for now. Let's go ahead and let's head to Clytus' palace. Alright, we want to head up. Let's see.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
So you walk purposely toward the front entrance. The guards stare at you in wonder, never having expected anyone to willingly walk into the palace. You explain that you're trailing the refugees from Telestia. The guard claims he doesn't know what you're talking about, but a knowing look to his companion leads you to believe otherwise. They inform you that all visitors must see the dynast. He makes his habit to greet them personally and hold a banquet in their honor. Again, the knowing look that passes between the guards is disquieting. With a grip that is more insistent than friendly, the first guard escorts you into the palace. And Tim says, I'm sure this somewhat inspired Heroes 3's fantasies design, and especially the Inferno Town, yeah. You wait for about an hour in a bare room with a single door and no windows. Then the same guard takes you to a large room with a long table plied with food and drink. Piled with food and drink. At the head of a table, a man wearing rich robes and a crown of gold sits in a throne-like chair. A broad, welcoming smile on his face, he invites you to sit and partake of this meal set out in your honor. For lack of a better plan, you sit down.
Greetings, my friend. My name is Clytus the 14th. I am the Dynast of Abarak, and I rule here, but you probably know that. I'm always pleased to receive visitors. I get so very little. Please, tell me how things are in the outer reaches.
The outer reaches aren't good. Water's drying up. Life is difficult, if not impossible.
I have heard some distressing reports about the quality of life in some of the outer reaches, but nothing verifiable. I've been waiting for first-hand information. I'm glad you're here. Are you a refugee? Are there others that require assistance?
I'm alone.
So, you don't represent anyone? You don't require assistance? Very well. You know, you look very different. Foreign. I've seen people from all over Abarak, and you look like none of them. Who are you? Where are you from?
I don't know. Should we be honest with them?
I don't know.
I don't know, yeah.
I haven't made a save in a while, so that's gonna be a bit of a problem. Fuck it.
I'm a patron
Alright.
from the labyrinth. Your ancestors banished my people there.
A patron? That's very good. They're just legends, you know. They never actually existed. Although they did theoretically have the same hair and markings. Where are my manners? You've probably been traveling for some time and are very hungry. I've been forcing you to converse while all of this food is laying here getting cold. You have my leave to partake. We will talk more later, I'm sure.
Let's say,
I'd like to ask you a few more questions first.
His goblin's
Time
gone.
to talk is past. Now it's time to enjoy ourselves. Perhaps a toast would be appropriate. We must drink to our new relationship. I'm sure that we will grow to be exceptional friends.
Giannis produces a bottle of red wine from a bar behind him and pours a single glass. He orders a dead servant to take the glass from his hand and place it before you.
Please accept this special wine. I only bring it out for special occasions. I'm sure you'll find it to be unique.
He stares at you like a vulture, waiting for you to drink from the crystal glass, and you notice that he is not holding a similar one.
I think I'll save this for later if it's all the same.
It is not the same, my friend. You will drink that wine, and you will do it now. I've lost all patience with you.
He rises from the table and traces...
it.
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
He really must have dropped it.
He rises from the table and traces a spell in the air while you watch, dumbfounded. The blue rune shoots across the banquet table and explodes in your chest. You expect to feel some pain, but all you notice is an overwhelming hunger. You begin to stuff your mouth and pockets with food and drink. In spite of yourself, you snatch up the crystal goblet and drain the contents. Clytus smiles and sits back down, satisfied.
I know you, patron. Our books talk about your race. We believed them to be legends, but here we have proof. And if you are real, how many more of the other legends could be true? The other realms. The Death Gate.
Yep, immediately we begin to feel dizzy. Something in the wine makes the room swirl around you, and we drop to the chair hard.
Abarak is dying. There's no way to save it, but you represent a way into new worlds, fresh lands to conquer. After you are dead, your corpse will tell me everything I wish to know. You will help me destroy your own people. Think on this as the poison eats through your body. Guards, remove this trash.
So it really didn't matter if we were honest with him or not. He would have pretty much saw through us anyway.
Oh, okay.
Soldiers grab us roughly from the chair and drag us long down winding corridors. Clanet's laughter echoes in our ears, and we quickly lose track of time, aching midsection demanding all of our attention. Soon we are thrown against a cold stone wall and shackles snap around our wrist. We slump to the floor as the guards stroll from the room, laughing at some private joke. You've gathered enough strength to look around the room. It's a stone cell. One wall has an open doorway, suggesting the manacles are what keep prisoners from escaping. Peg on the wall is home to a key on the ring, which looks like it might fit the lock on your shackles. It is, of course, out of reach. Another occupant of the cell is chained to the same wall that holds this prisoner. A thin crown along his brow attracts your attention. This Sartan boy is some kind of royalty. Why he is confined in a dungeon is beyond you, and the paleness of his skin, the occasional grunt and spasm, all lead you to believe that he has had his share of Clytus's poison. Well, alrighty, so let's go ahead and save, because we just... let's talk to Edmund.
Hello, my friend. It looks like we're both in the same boat. So much for relying on the hospitality of strangers.
Alright, he ends his statement with a painful grimace and a sharp intake of breath.
Who are you? My name is Edmund, and I'm the Crown Prince of Telestia. You couldn't tell I was royalty by the deluxe accommodations? Who are you?
My name is Haplo. I'd shake your hand, but I'm kind of tied up right now.
Very nice to meet you, Haplo. Any enemy of Clytus is a friend of mine.
You're a prince? Why were you put in the dungeon?
It's a long story. I come from Telestia, a city on the outer edges of Abarak. A few years ago, our water supplies started to dry up. Balthazar, the royal necromancer, studied the problem and discovered that the Colossus was failing. The magic that sustained us for thousands of years was ebbing. We knew that our time was limited. We boarded everyone onto our ships and set sail for the Fire Sea. None of us had been there before, but Balthazar's ancient maps indicated a route. The trip was perilous. What's more, our ships hadn't been used for thousands of years, since we first came to Telestia. By the time we arrived, we had lost many of our people, including the king, my father. Therefore, I became my people's leader. Our intended destination was this palace. We had never seen the palace, or met the dynast that ruled us. Instead of arriving on his doorstep with a few thousand refugees, I decided to leave them in a warren of natural caves that we discovered, and come here as an envoy. I thought that Clytus and I could speak and decide where my people could live. I arrived at the palace alone. He greeted me with open arms and invited me to a banquet. My people have been living on withered cairn grass for months, so I must admit that a banquet sounded appetizing. During the meal, he began to question me. The questions were innocuous at first, but became more probing and less veiled as Clytus continued. He asked military questions. What was the size of our forces and where were the troops bivouacked? Suddenly, he was sounding less like a benevolent leader and more like a king bent on eliminating any threats to his power or strains on his kingdom's food supply. Just as I stood up and announced that I wished to take my leave, a sharp pain doubled me over. Clytus simply looked over and smiled. He explained that the wine in my cup had been poisoned, and that after it killed me, he would drag the answers from my corpse. His guards brought me down here and locked me up. Now, I'm just waiting to die.
What exactly is this Colossus?
The Colossus is a stone spire infused with the magic of the ancients. It heats the world and slowly melts the Celestial Sea, a huge body of ice which feeds water throughout Abarak. For some reason, it is failing. Our water supply has dried up. It doesn't make any sense. According to Balthazar's books, the Colossus was designed to last forever. He hoped to examine the Colossus and perhaps help to mend it, but now we'll never get the chance. By ignoring the problem and focusing on his own petty self-interests, Clytus is sealing our world's doom.
Where is the Colossus?
The Colossus is in Clytus's palace. It lies at the center of the ancient catacombs which run through the palace's foundation. The entrance is right across from this dungeon. Although Balthazar's books state this, they don't show the path through the catacombs. It's said that only the Dynast knows the way.
Where are your people now?
They are safely tucked away in the secret caves along the edge of the Fire Sea. Clytus would give his eye teeth to know where. If somehow we managed to escape, we would still be stranded here with no way to cross the sea.
I've got a ship. If you show me where they are, I could transport us there.
The chances of escape are slim, but it's nice to know that we will have a way across the sea if we do.
How long have you been here?
Not long. Less than a day, surely. I fear that I can't hold out much longer, though. The poison has ravaged my system. It appears, for some reason, to be working faster on you. Perhaps you received a larger dose. I doubt that you have more than a couple hours left.
Well, I mean, he did hit us with a hunger spell, and we were just kind of ravenously eating what was away. So, yeah, we probably took a larger dose.
Why didn't you send some nobody as your envoy? Seems like a dangerous job for a prince.
Everyone under my rule is important. There are no nobodies. I would risk myself before I would send someone else into danger.
That's very noble of you, sir.
Can your people pose a threat to the Dynast? They sound like a bunch of farmers.
We are mostly peaceful folk, but we have some reserves of dead fighting troops. That doesn't matter much, though. While Clytus holds the scepter of rulership, he could turn my army into dust before it even got into position.
Let's back up a step.
Suit yourself.
Isn't Telestia quite a ways from here?
Yes. It was a long, perilous journey which claimed my father. It's rather hard to accept that it was all for nothing.
Let's talk about something else.
All right. I don't have much else to do.
So...
What's Clytus' story? How'd he get to be Dynast?
That is a story. I only know the parts of the legend that Balthazar found in his reading. I guess we don't have anywhere to go, so I might as well tell you. According to the legend, our ancestors created this world and populated it with the weak races. Those races continually warred with each other, so our ancestors decided to sleep until everyone began to get along. Presumably, when that happened, our ancestors would wake and rejoin the new society. I guess they made Abarak a little too hostile for the weaker races. The heat and impure air were killing more of them than their petty wars were, so they banded together much sooner than anticipated and roused our ancestors. They arose to discover that the world was killing the races instead of nurturing them. They also found that there was nothing that they could do to save them. It required all of their magic just to keep themselves alive. So they selected a handful of members from each race, placed them in the sleep chambers from which they had just risen, and waited for something called the interconnection. The books were a little unclear about this term. All they say is that it would make life much better on Abarak. Clytus I was a member of the High Council at that time. One day, he arrived in the council session with a powerful magic scepter. With it, he convinced the others to found a monarchy, with himself as the Dynast, the ruler. The line has continued unbroken, as far as I can tell, to this day. Each new son takes up the scepter of rulership and becomes the new Dynast. The man who tossed us in this dungeon is Clytus XIV. It's said that his scepter can turn a man to dust in seconds. No one wants to confront such raw magic, so he remains in power.
Tim says the dickwad. Not wrong.
Clytus I did do something right, though. He introduced us to necromancy. It's only by bringing back our dead that we have been able to stay alive. He even sacrificed his own personal servant as the first experiment.
Now, that sounds kind of like a dick move.
Yeah. So much for loyalty.
Sounds like he's the product of a little too much inbreeding.
I know nothing about Clytus's specific lineage, but madness is a symptom of inbreeding, and he is certainly displaying that.
If Clytus' scepter can turn a man to dust, why does he bother with poison?
He still needs information from me. I assume the same is true for you. If he destroyed us, the information would be lost as well. If he kills us with poison, we are undamaged. Then he can resurrect us and demand the information he wants. Since the dead always serve the living, we'll have no choice but to tell him everything.
You really think necromancy is all that hot?
It's hard to question something that is such a fundamental part of your life. But Balthazar has raised some interesting points. He believes that we should be concentrating on rediscovering the old, lost magic arts. If we used our magic to make our lives better, we wouldn't need to bring back the dead. To be totally honest, seeing my father resurrected into a shadow of his former self was chilling. I don't look forward to dying myself, or to the inevitable result.
What happened to the rest of the weaker races?
They died. There was no way to save them. It must have been horrible to watch them die, completely helpless to do anything.
Does the council still exist?
No. Clytus the First disbanded it when he created the monarchy. My ancestor was a member. This amulet I wear was a badge of his office. It's been in my family ever since, and I wear it proudly.
We kind of need that amulet because it has a
rune.
A rune for Celestria, or Celestria, however it's pronounced. The world of water, basically.
You mean that if Clytus didn't have this scepter, he wouldn't be in charge?
I would challenge him myself if I could count on a fair fight. My claim to the throne is as strong. My ancestor was also a member of the High Council. These are all pipe dreams, though. His scepter would make dust of them and me.
What happened to his personal servant?
Shortly after he rose to power, Clytus the First sent him away. I believe he was banished to the ancestral home of the dwarves. In fact, it would have been in the caverns around Telestia. No one has explored that area in ages. I wonder if he's still there.
That was an intriguing story, but let's talk about something else.
All right. I don't have much else to do.
That seems like the Bonarchy, I mean.
Do you know any way out of here?
In fact, I do. One of Balthazar's old books showed a secret passage out of the palace's foundation. If we were unfettered, I might be able to find that passage.
Why is that dog watching us? Is he just waiting for us to die so he can chew on our bones?
That's Clytus's personal hunting hound. The guards have orders to let him go anywhere he wants, so he has run of the palace. He's probably here because he's curious. They don't get many new visitors. I don't hold it against the hound that he belongs to Clytus. He seems nice enough. Until you came, he was my only company. He's a good listener.
So...
That's an interesting medallion you're wearing. Could I have it?
I'm afraid not. It belonged to my ancestor and has been passed from father to son for centuries. I treasure it with my life.
That's fair.
I'd like to rest now.
I understand. I'm feeling sick and tired myself. I'm sure it's the poison, not the conversation.
Alright, so what we want to go ahead and we want to do is we want to put the stake... Well, actually, hang on. Let's save the game, because I want to overwrite. I want to make sure that... Does this actually... Yep. Can't eat the steak. Yeah, that's why I wanted to save first. So, knowing that it came right from Clytus' banquet table turns your appetite right off. So, pet the dog. Dog's out of reach. Aw. Put the steak on the front. Plop the steak on the ground next to you. The dog eyes it with disinterest. Evidently, it has eaten recently. Well, we can take care of that.
Hunger spell.
Cast hunger on the dog. You trace the rune structure in the air. It floats over to the curious dog who attempts to take a bite out of it. Instead, it sinks into his body. Immediately, the dog begins to salivate and looks around for something to eat. Anything. The rare steak lying on the ground catches the hound's eye. It bounds over next to you and rips into the bloody meat as if its life depended on it. So, pet the dog. The dog wags his tail. He seems to like you. The dog whips his head back and forth as he tears at the steak. So what we want to go ahead and do is we want to go back in and possess the dog. You trace the runes in the air as you place your hand on the dog's scruffy fur. The magic swiftly takes hold, and you stiffen as you feel your soul passing away. Everything spins and you begin to panic as everything goes black. The darkness doesn't last long, however. You quickly come to your senses, but instantly discover that they aren't the same senses as you come to expect. Tim says, congratulations, you're now in possession of a dog. Your vision now only perceives the world in shades of gray, although your hearing and sense of smell have been enhanced. You realize you inhabit the body of the dog, and that this dog has been trained to track game by smell. This must be the body of Clytus' royal hunting hound. Now, funny enough, in the actual books, Haplo does have an actual dog, and the dog is its constant companion. So, Alright, so we want to go ahead, we want to exit the cell and go up.
You are now Doggo.
So we are indeed now Dog. You pad up the stairs, passing a number of alert guards. They pat you on the head and smile and allow you to pass. It seems that this dog has run in the palace. After a bit of exploration, which involves you sticking your nose in a lot of empty rooms, you discover the original banquet room you were escorted to. You've taken a good deal of time to locate it, and you are very worried about the condition of your body. Alright, so... exit the cell. So we want to take... look at bottle. Simple glass bottle filled with some kind of liquid. You cannot identify the liquid or color of the bottle because, as a dog, you can only make out shades of gray. We want to take the second bottle. I'm just curious. Can we... Oh yeah, as a dog, you can only carry one object at a time, so... we're gonna go ahead and head back to this one. And give bottle Pablo. Get Keyring. Give Keyring Pablo. And touch Pablo. You nuzzle your motionless body. The content sparks the transference of your soul. Familiar dizziness overwhelms you, and when you recover, you're back in your human body. The dog looks with you with loyal, trusting eyes. Evidently, some bond was created when you passed your soul into its body. It sidles up to you, intent on accompanying you wherever you go. So hey,
we have Doggo.
So we now have a dog. So alright, so take the clear bottle. Room darkens, blotches of color obscure your vision. So drink. You take a big swig from the clear bottle. Grateful you were able to tell it from the colored bottles when it didn't filter out any of the multicolored lines in the tablecloth. You feel the effects at once. The knots in your stomach loosen and the weight lifts from your limbs. You can feel that the liquid has cured you. Go ahead. Give the clear bottle to Edmund, who guzzles the remainder of the clear liquid. The effect is immediate. The pain drains from his face and body and hands the empty bottle back to you with a sigh of relief. So we want to go ahead and take Keyring. Unlock the manacles. And you reach over to the princess and insert him and free him as well. So, alright. Snatch the vice, grab that, and let's go ahead and talk to Edmund.
Yes, my friend?
Would you accompany me? I'm looking to get out of here.
I'd be happy to. Let's leave while we can.
Now we got another party. Let's go ahead and let's get the hell out of here.
Behind a panel in that wall is a tunnel which leads directly to the docks. We should be able to sneak out to your ship and sail away before they know what's happening. When we're away, I'll direct you to the caves where my people hide. I must tell them about the situation here, and perhaps they can help you as well.
Right, so we head off to the west. Right, cool. Let's enter our ship.
This is an incredible vessel. Great workmanship. I've never seen anything like it. I assume that the steering is similar to the ships that I've piloted. If you'll give me leave, I'll take us to the secret caves on the edge of the Fire Sea.
We nod, and Edmund, smiling, plants himself in the front of the steering wheel. Yep. Tim says the tunnel directly to the ducks.
DuckTales.
Alright. So I'm curious. How are we doing on status? We've currently amassed 815 out of a total of 1,500 points. Alright. So we want to head and enter the cave.
Thank you, my friend, for helping me escape. I will be forever in your debt, and I intend to help you in your quest. Right now, however, I must speak with some of the elders. I have to tell them about Clytus, and we must make plans. If you go back to the palace, I will meet you there. We have a few ships ourselves that can take me. Until then, farewell.
He then disappears into the mob of Sartan. So, alrighty. So, we enter the cave. Yeah, we've entered the cave. Talk to the gamblers. We're gonna go ahead and save the game again. You go through your repertoire of attention-gathering devices before finally deciding on just straightforward tapping on the shoulder. This caused the recipient to suddenly drop the playing pieces he was shaking in his hand. He begins to protest, but when the other players begin to moan, his head drops to look at the winning throw, and he laughs.
That was my luckiest throw of the night, and I owe it all to you.
Other players reluctantly hand over small white stones to the winner, which he accepts gracefully.
What are you doing?
Doing? Why, we're playing Runebone. It passes the time while we're waiting for the prince to decide what we're going to do. I was losing all night until you nudged me. That last throw made up for my entire losing streak.
What are those stones you won?
They're not stones. They're rune bones. We make them from animal bones. Each unique rune bone has an individual rune carved into it, but they all interlock. When you throw them down, they form a design. If the bones fall in such a way that they form a legal spell, you win, and all the other players must contribute one of their rune bones to you. If no recognized spell is formed, you lose the bones you threw. Once you run out of rune bones, you're out of the game.
Are these spells real? Can you cast them?
Of course not. The runes are all fictitious. We made up the runes and the spells when we made up the game. Although when I created some of my runes, I snuck a peek at a few of the bookworm's old tomes. I wanted the runes to look authentic.
Since I was responsible for your throw, don't you owe me some of your winnings?
Sure, my friend. I guess you did bring me luck on my heaviest bet. I suppose I could let you have a few, just so you can practice a little at the game. If you get good enough, maybe we'll let you join in.
He dumps 4 rune bones into our hand.
Are you hot, or is it just me?
It's just you.
That's all. Thanks, pal.
No problem.
His attention swings back to the game at hand, where he gets into an argument over the legitimacy of a thrown spell. Alright, we're gonna save again just...
Yeah.
I kinda wanna do this. Talk to Balthazar.
How can I help you?
Yep. You have to clear your throat repeatedly before the thin man lifts his sunken eyes from the book. When he does, you feel the piercing, burning intelligence of his gaze. Although his body is old and frail, you sense his mind is as sharp as any you encountered.
Are you Balthazar?
That I am. I'm afraid you have me at a disadvantage. Who did you say you were?
My name is Haplo.
Haplo. Haplo. Strange sounding name. Where do you hail from?
So my thing says, don't tell him we're from the labyrinth. What happens if we do?
From the labyrinth. Your ancestors trapped my race there, and I've returned to avenge my people.
You're a patron. You've come to destroy us. Well, you'll find that I'm not quite as helpless as I appear.
And before you can do anything, he waves his hands through the air, raving a blazing blue trail, a rune structure you've never seen. The air around you becomes foul, choked with soot. You hack and cough and try to escape, but the dark cloud follows you everywhere. It fills your lungs and you drop to the cave floor. Dead. Womp womp. Well, what do we do now? Let's go ahead and undo.
How can I help you?
Are you Balthazar?
That I am. I'm afraid you have me at a disadvantage. Who did you say you were?
My name is Haplo.
Haplo. Haplo. Strange sounding name. Where do you hail from?
I don't really have a home. I've been on the move since I was young.
I see. That must be very difficult. Food is so scarce that we were forced to settle in one area to grow even the pitiful supply of crops we harvest. You must have some other source. Perhaps sometime you can let me know what it is. For right now, how can I help you?
So...
I've been to your home. I followed your directions here.
You followed my directions here? I'm glad that my journal served some purpose. If it helped to save one life, it was worth leaving behind.
You're the same Balthazar who is the king's necromancer?
That's correct. Although as the royal necromancer, I suppose that I serve Edmund now.
Prince Edmund has told me quite a bit about you.
The prince is a good lad.
A trifle young to be sure, but holding up remarkably well under the strain of leadership. The loss of his father has been hard on him. He wasn't meant to assume the crown for years to come. My thanks for your part in bringing him home.
The king is dead?
He wasn't a strong man. I think perhaps he had the plague at the end. It was befuddling his senses. The prince refused to assume the leadership from his father, so we followed the king until he died. Those were strange days. The king would lead us in circles as his mind slowly decayed. His death was inevitable. When someone contracts the plague, it is only a matter of time.
What is this plague?
We're not quite sure. For as long as I can remember, people have been falling prey to a mysterious sickness. We just call it the plague, for lack of a better term. When someone contracts it, he dies days later. There is no cure. There doesn't seem to be any cause. It's not contagious in the usual sense. It strikes randomly. All of our efforts to learn more about it have proved futile. The plague has decimated our population. The dead far outnumber the living. Even if our world wasn't threatened by the imminent collapse of the Colossus, I question how long the plague will let us all live.
I'd like to talk about something else.
Certainly.
What are you reading?
This is just one of my own books on magic. I'm trying to master one of the lost arts, illusion. I'm so close to the spell that I can taste it. A breakthrough last night has placed it just within reach.
What was this breakthrough?
I've been trying to construct the spell by taking a back route. I reasoned that if I discovered how to break an illusion, I might be able to build one. Last night, I happened upon the correct rune structure to unravel an illusion. Using this as a foundation, I should be able to construct the Create Illusion spell.
How long will it take to work out the new spell?
Only a couple of years. This breakthrough has shaved decades off my research.
A couple of years? How long do you expect to be around?
You're right. Sometimes I get too involved in my own work. With the Colossus corrupted, none of us will live out the year. But there's no use in wallowing in despair. I might as well continue, since it keeps me from dwelling on our fate.
What exactly is an illusion?
An illusion is a powerful spell speaking directly to the brain of higher life forms. The spell tricks the mind into viewing reality a certain way. An ancient adept at using the spell could create an illusionary cell around you. No bars or walls would actually exist, but your brain would tell you that they did. To make matters worse, it wouldn't matter if he told you that the cell was illusory. The spell convinces your senses, all of your senses, that the cell is there. Your hand wouldn't be able to pass through the bars, whether you believed in them or not. Like I said, the spell speaks directly to the brains of higher creatures. Lower animals, like that dog following you around, wouldn't be affected. But for the purposes of the ancient magi, that was enough. Do you see why it is so hard to identify an illusion? When all of your senses are telling you that something exists, there's no reason for doubt. You can't go around suspecting everything, and even if you did, your suspicions wouldn't have any impact on the illusion.
Have you tested your Unravel Illusion spell?
Well, no, I haven't found any illusions anywhere. Not that I would be able to recognize one if I saw it. That's the nature of illusions. The only other way to conjure an illusion is to create one. And since I can't do that yet, I have no way of testing my Unravel Illusion spell. Although all the signs indicate that it is complete, I'd love to find an illusion somewhere to try it out on. But who knows where the ancients decided to place their illusions, if anywhere.
Well, I mean, Zard didn't believe that Zivnab's dragon was real. Maybe we could, like, take our steering stone back to Prion and test it on the dragon.
This is getting too technical for me. Let's talk about something else.
Certainly.
What are those guys yelling about in the corner?
They're playing Runebone. It's some type of gambling game, I believe, very popular with the working class. Since there's not much to do here, they play it constantly. It's very distracting.
What are you reading?
This is...
Can I see your book?
I'm afraid not. I only lend my books to colleagues and apprentices. You know how valuable they are? Each contains a vital piece of information. Damage to even one of them could delay or completely halt my research.
Can you teach me any spells?
I'm afraid not. It takes a good deal of time to teach these arts to a novice. What's more, as a rule, I only teach my apprentices.
Where are the rest of your books? I heard you have a whole library.
They are safe, buried in a secluded spot. I keep them guarded at all times. They are invaluable, and I won't risk damaging them.
Why do you call them lost arts?
That's the frustrating part of this research. All of the magic arts that I've been uncovering were once known and practiced by the ancients. I'm walking over already trod ground. If only more of the texts had survived, I could simply read about these spells instead of having to reconstruct them from sketchy, half-destroyed notes.
Never mind. Let's talk about something else.
Certainly.
Thank you for your help. Perhaps we'll speak later.
As you wish.
So we need the Unravel Illusion spell. So what we need to do is we want to go ahead and use magic on the dog. Possess the dog again. Yep. Trace the runes in the air and place your hand on the dog's scruffy fur. Magic swiftly takes hold and you stiffen as you feel your soul passing through. Yep. Although you miss colored sight, sounds and smells are amplified to compensate. A bitter, sharp odor draws your attention to the east. Through the dog's eyes, you see a small tunnel that you missed before, running into the cave wall. Dry, stale air from the opening carries a disturbing smell. Evil smell. Yep. Rough. Touch Aplo. Yep. Familiar dizziness overwhelms you, and when you recover you're back in your human body. The dog growls and backs away from the east wall.
Yes, what is it now?
Have you noticed anything unusual about that cave wall to the east?
Unusual? No, it's just a cave wall, one of many, actually. But why?
What would you say if I told you that it was an illusion?
I'd say, how can you possibly know that? Your brain can't distinguish reality from illusion. You are a higher life form, aren't you? That's just an assumption, mind you.
I've looked at it through the dog's eyes, and it's not there. What do you think that means?
You mean you possessed the dog and he didn't see it? Yes, that would follow. The spell does not communicate with the lower life forms, and by possessing the body of such a form, you would bypass the magic of the illusion. You say it was the east wall. It's an illusion. Imagine. I've been sitting this close to an illusion every day, eager for a chance to test my Unravel Illusion spell. I'll try it now.
Alright, there we go. Balthazar wanders over to the cave wall. He touches it, even pushes it with all his might. With a questioning look in your direction, he waves his hands about, tracing blue, glowing lines in the air. When he's finished the final rune, the spell floats in the air, the rock flickers, then dissolves like so much mist. Beyond, you see a small crawlway stretching into darkness.
It worked! It worked! This is exactly what my research needed. Now that I know the Unravel Illusion spell is correct, it won't take long to finish the Create Illusion spell.
Balthazar dives back into his book and resumes reading with rekindled enthusiasm. We've learned to spell, 15 points. Alright. So now we want to go ahead and enter the hidden book. Yep. We find the spell book, a robe. Let's go ahead and take the spell book. Oh. I should have probably read the book first.
Saved.
Yep. Oh well. Fingers touch the black material of the robe. It feels inexplicably cold. The frost runs up your arm, and soon your whole body begins to shiver. The rocks of the cave seem to take a life all their own. They whirl and twist and become something totally new. You realize that you are seeing a vision of an entirely different place. You see a man dressed in the robe that you've touched. Although the room is dark, he is unmistakably Sartan. He stands in the front of a gigantic stone spire covered with magic runes. His attention is focused on a large rune in the center of the spire. A nervous dwarf stands nearby, watching this man cast spell after spell at the rune. The wizard curses and yells as the blue fire strikes the stone without effect. Finally, a particularly fierce spell actually affects the column. Its usually constant blue glow grows faint. With a triumphant shriek, the wizard commands the dwarf to approach the spire and break the rune. The dwarf quakes with fear, but remains steadfast. He approaches the rune with a hammer and wedge to hold out in front of him. And when he cautiously touches them to the rune, a massive explosion throws his body back like a ragdoll. The man shrieks again in frustration. He curses the dwarf's limp body for its weakness, and the strength of madness enters the wizard, and even while maintaining the spells that holds the rune's spirit at bay, he simultaneously casts a mighty spell, too quick to memorize, upon the dark dwarf's corpse.
Talk about your OSHA violations.
A misty image of the dwarf appears floating over the body. Its expression is one of terror and pain. It's as if something has taken a hold of it in the manner of a rope wrapped around its foot and drags it back into the corpse. When the spirit image has been totally subsumed by the body, the dwarf's eyes jerk open. The man in black screams at the dwarf to finish his task. Slowly, the dwarf drags himself to his feet, gathers up the hammer and wedge, and approaches the spire again. He touches the tools to the rune again and again. The magic reacts, but now the explosion only rips flesh from his bones, and somehow the dwarf manages to stay his ground. 5 blows of the hammer force a chunk from the center of the rune to fall away. Immediately, the rune's glow vanishes, and all of the other runes on the spire grow a bit darker. The man in black laughs as he picks up a piece of the stone. He admires the rock in his hand as if it were some kind of relic, then turns his attention to the obvious hole in the spire's rune. With his free hand, he waves an intricate spell that is too complicated to follow, and suddenly the rune appears to be whole again. The strange pair exit the chamber, leaving the spire seemingly whole but much darker than started. Scene shifts. You now see the same man seated on a throne. He holds a scepter which has as its headpiece the same chunk of stone from the spire. Others in his court display obvious fear of their ruler and keep quite a distance from him. The man seems to prefer it because you see no sign of the dwarf. Another scene. The wizard is now much older and handing the scepter to another younger man whose face bears a close resemblance to that of the wizard. You can see the avarice and longing in his eyes and the reluctance of the eyes in the wizard in black. After the younger man has snatched the scepter away, he takes no further notice of the older wizard who walks slowly off. And now you see the old wizard in this very cave. He stands on the rock floor alone. The madness in his eyes is overwhelming and murmurs to himself for a while. You catch only the mouthings of a few words. They'll never find me and must never bring me back. Never. His hands wave aimlessly in the air, but then you begin to see that the blue traces of a spell. Soon the rune construct is completed. It flies into his body and explodes in flames. The wizard thrashes a bit, but in short order is no more than a pile of ash. Surprisingly, the robe he wore has been left untouched by flame. Nothing happens for a while. Then you realize that the visions have ended and you're looking at the same scene only thousands of years later. The robe lies in the same place, covering the ashy remains of the old wizard. Tentatively, you pick up the robe, but no further images haunt you. Alright. Let's read the spellbook. The study of necromancy. Let it be known by any who would read this book, who would learn of the dark practice of necromancy, that it is forbidden. Let the reader do so at the peril to his soul and to those of his brethren. This tome is intended for information's sake only. He who disregards this warning and undertakes to practice this discipline has committed a crime against his race, and at this time, a crime punishable by death by the order of the Sartan High Council. If this warning strikes you as too harsh, you are obviously not familiar with the after effects of this art. Simply put, for every person brought back from death, another of his race shall die untimely. Hey, remember all those dead people we saw back in Arianis?
Oh,
Guess what happened to them?
Oh boy.
So, this spell is tantamount to murder, therefore it is treated as such. Necromancy is literally death magic. It can be used to draw back the spirit of the dead and force it to inhabit the body it has rightfully vacated. This does not bring the dead back to life. Indeed, the body loses its ability to feel and heal all wounds. Eventually, even the best kept corpse will be useless. Countless accidents and daily wail will eventually exhaust its potential, and the spirit never quite grasps what has happened. It exists in a state of constant confusion. In its own mind, it relives the past, replaying events that it has already experienced, despite different environments and the lack of other players and props. Some lose contact with those worlds entirely and live only in their crafted reality of the past, but this is an extreme case. Most spirits can understand and communicate with the living. This is their only benefit. Resurrected corpses obey the living as well as they can, given their mental and physical limitations. In a situation where the living cannot function at peril to life or health, a corpse can perform admirably. Necromancy was discovered by accident, a failed experiment to uncover the soul's destination after death unexpectedly provided the basis for resurrection. No one understands precisely what this spell does. The spell's results are understood. But where are we drawing the spirit from? What are we consigning it to? Why does another person have to die, and why only from the same race? These questions will have to remain unanswered, as all experiments involving the use of the spell have been prohibited. The spell itself is as follows. This text should serve only to remind that the practice of necromancy has been condemned. By forgetting its art and its consequences, we risk that future generations will unwittingly follow our footsteps, rediscover the discipline, and repeat our mistakes. Look upon this text as knowledge pure and simple, as knowledge never kills nor destroys, except in the hands of those who misuse it. Alright. So we've learned resurrection, we've learned self-immolation. Now we want to go ahead and, yep, cave is much larger than it appears. It's crammed full of Sartan. The dog happily runs up to us, and we run up to Balthazar, eager to discuss the amazing vision we've just experienced.
I just had an incredible vision when I picked up this black robe. What do you think it means?
A vision? Tell me about it. This is amazing. You've just experienced the life of our first dynast, Clitus I. It answers quite a few questions I've had about his rise to power and his reign. It also answers many questions about our current situation.
How did this happen? Why did I see all of these things when I picked up the robe?
I'm not exactly sure. It's possible that when Clitus took his own life, the robe became infused with his spirit. This happens sometimes, especially when the death is particularly violent and the victim is very powerful in magic. When you picked up the robe, what was left of Clitus, lying there for thousands of years, passed through you. Your mind interpreted this by showing his memories. This is all speculation, you realize.
Can you interpret the bit about Clitus's grab for power?
I would be happy to. What would you like to know?
Wasn't there a ruling council at that time? Could you tell me about it?
The High Council once governed over all of Abarak. Clitus was a member. It democratically created laws for all Sartan and at one time the Mensch as well. When the Mensch woke the Sartan, the Council was the body that decided on the course of action. To put a handful of the Mensch to sleep and wait for the interconnection. The Council would have continued to rule if Clitus had not been so power-hungry.
How did he convince the Council to let him disband it and institute a monarchy?
He didn't have the political power to do that. No one did. So he required magical power to back his play. He made himself undefeatable with the scepter. No one dared to oppose him after he created it. It was child's play to institute the monarchy. He merely eliminated every possible opponent.
Why did he do all of this?
I believe that to be a member of Abarak's council, the only requisite was a mastery of magic. This implied intelligence, but not necessarily sanity. Clytus was clearly insane, if not before his play for power, then afterward.
Let's move on to another topic.
Very well.
Can you tell me exactly what happened to the Colossus?
The Colossus is the source of Abarak's magic. It is what warms the stone, melts the ice, and feeds water throughout the world. It was an unparalleled marvel, by far the greatest of the ancients' achievements. It contained so much power that it's easy to see why Clytus lusted after it.
Hey, EJ.
Oh, hey, Joy.
Hi, EJ.
What was the rune that he was battling with?
It was a containment rune. The spell was a cap for the Colossus's magic. It sealed the spells inside to keep the magic from flowing out, so that the Colossus would last forever.
What happened when he finally subdued it?
Over a period of several months, Clytus wove an intricate set of spells that temporarily weakened the containment rune. When the structure had drained the rune of enough power, he had his dwarf servant carve a chunk of the rune away. It was a central line of the rune. Without it, the symbol was meaningless and therefore powerless. The Colossus's magic began to drain away.
What did he do by removing a chunk of the rune?
It was much like taking a chunk of flesh from your body. The magic sealed inside of the Colossus started to leak out, like blood from a vital wound.
Why did he do this when it would eventually destroy this world? Didn't he think ahead?
It's true that eventually the Colossus would lose enough power to cease supporting Abarak. I'm sure Clytus must have known this. It's possible that Clytus was counting on the interconnection. He must have reasoned that thousands of years would pass before it would actually make a difference. Long before that, the interconnection would occur, and Abarak would survive on the energies provided from it. On that, I'm a little unclear as well. The interconnection is a little mystical to me, but it's obvious that the ancients believed in it. Perhaps they shouldn't have. Thousands of years have passed and no interconnection has taken place. The Colossus is failing and it's taking our world with it.
Can the Colossus be fixed?
That's an interesting question. I suppose it could. If the rune were reconnected, it would begin to function again. The spell would hold in the magic as it is supposed to. I don't know if the Colossus has enough magic left at this point to support Abarak anymore, but at least it wouldn't lose anymore. The original fragment, if it were replaced, would do this. Actually, it wouldn't have to be the original fragment. Anything that had the missing line that fit into the hole would reconnect the rune. The complete rune is the important element, not the composition of the rock. If something with the fragment shape were placed inside the hole, the containment rune would reactivate.
Something like one of these little bone things that we've got, possibly?
What did he do at the end, before he left it?
Clytus was intelligent. He knew that people would see the Colossus with a huge chunk missing from the containment rune and realize something was amiss, so he placed an illusion upon it. Now the Colossus looks normal, even feels normal, but the hole is still there, the rune is still broken, and magic continues to flow.
Enough about this subject.
Very well.
What's the deal with the dwarf?
The dwarf was Clytus's personal servant. He worshipped Clytus, very like a well-trained dog. I believe that's how Clytus saw him as well, not much more than an animal.
Why did Clytus bring him along?
Clytus needed someone else to break the rune. It required all of his concentration and effort merely to subdue it. While he focused on weakening the rune, he had the dwarf run in and carve out the chunk.
What did he do while Clytus battled the rune?
He just waited to be of service. Every day, he walked with Clytus through the catacombs to the Colossus and waited. If you count the amount of times he wandered in and out of the catacombs with nothing to do, that dwarf must have known it like the back of his hand. You couldn't get much more dedicated.
What happened to him when he tried it the first time?
Even weakened, the rune's magic was strong. Clytus should have known better than to send a mensch to cut the rune. It killed him instantly. I believe that this is where Clytus finally went mad. He was so close to his goal, and his plans were about to be foiled by a lowly mensch. In desperation, he resurrected the dwarf, knowing that the result would be much more resistant to damage than the dwarf's original body. The corpse dragged himself up, and still loyal to Clytus, removed the chunk of stone from the containment room. Clytus had succeeded in breaking the rune at only the cost of a mensch. A bargain.
Is that when Clytus instituted the practice of necromancy among the Sartan?
Come to think of it, you're right. Coincidental timing? Perhaps not. It's possible that he instituted the practice to justify his own actions. That's almost unthinkable. We've been using necromancy for thousands of years to cover for one man's mistake? I certainly hope that's not the case.
It is the case.
Where did he end up?
After Clytus had broken the containment rune, he had no further use of his servant. He banished him to the ancestral home of the dwarves. It's a complex of caves fairly near to Telestia. The dwarf obsessed about Clytus for years. Having the mental retention of the dead, he eventually forgot that he had completed the mission and broken the rune, so he sat in his cave, waiting for Clytus to come and take him back to the catacombs. I think he's been waiting there ever since.
Let's move along to another subject.
Very well.
Can you explain why Clytus ran away at the end?
I have a theory. After he passed the scepter on to his son, it was only a matter of time until he passed away, either naturally or at the hands of one of his many enemies. He decided to come here, to a secret cave where he could hide forever. Clytus entered and decided upon a small chamber for his final resting place. He cast an illusion spell upon the entrance in order to keep everyone out. Even if someone found these caverns, they wouldn't penetrate his inner sanctum. He had reasons to want not to be discovered.
And by using the self-immolation spell, he ensured that he wouldn't leave behind a body so that others wouldn't be able to resurrect him.
At the very end, he cast a self-immolation spell. This is surprising, but not totally unexplainable. I believe that Clytus actually feared resurrection more than death itself. By destroying his remains, even before he was dead, he assured himself that he would never be raised. That's why you found a pile of ashes inside his robes, which were fairly intact. The self-immolation spell destroys the body of the caster, but nothing else.
Yep, just as I said.
It appears that Clytus wanted to minimize the chances of anyone finding and raising him. But even so, his actions seem extreme. His remains were completely destroyed. Why did he bother hiding in these forsaken caves guarded by an illusion spell? I wonder if he was hiding anything else.
I found a book lying alongside of Clytus. It claims that necromancy is forbidden, and that for every person raised, another shall die untimely.
That is the final answer, the one I have been dreading my entire life. Necromancy is forbidden. Of course. You say that for every person brought back, another dies untimely? This is what we have termed the plague. We have unwittingly been killing ourselves for centuries, and we have done so at the command of a long-dead maniac. How could we have been so blind?
Balthazar stops and sobs.
We have to change. We have to put things right. I shall stop the practice of necromancy with my people, but it's only a start. We have to overthrow Clytus. We have to tell everyone.
Right.
Tell me about the Scepter of Rulership.
After Clytus took the chunk from the Colossus, he fashioned a scepter and used the chunk as a headpiece. He brandished the finished product at the council and demanded a crown. They caved in almost immediately.
What kind of power did this scepter have?
Mostly destructive. It could turn a man to ash with no more than a flick of the wrist. I believe it also had powers of a more subtle nature, though my texts don't address these. What is written is that the scepter is unmatched in sheer destructive force.
How did it get its power?
When the chunk was removed from the Colossus, the containment rune was broken. Magic began to seep from it, much like blood from a wound. It was always Clytus's intention to draw magic from the wound for his own purposes. He found that he could focus this power through the piece of the Colossus that he possessed. That is why he fashioned the scepter, using the fragment as the headpiece.
Why did the council cave in? Wasn't it filled with master wizards?
Clytus was drawing upon the magic of the Colossus. Nothing could withstand that. Where the other wizards had to weave the rune construct slowly into the air and pull the possibilities of their spells into this reality, Clytus could just disintegrate them with the wave of his hand. Before any organized resistance could be brought to bear, Clytus had eliminated any council member powerful or stubborn enough to oppose him. The others fell into line like cattle.
Is there any way to counter the scepter?
That's like asking if there is any way to defeat the Colossus. In a sense, it is the same thing. The scepter draws upon the Colossus's power. It cannot be overcome. Although it wouldn't be necessary to overcome the scepter if it were rendered useless. This is just a wild thought. But the scepter focuses the power of the Colossus that is leaking from the broken containment rune. If the rune were completed and the containment spell resumed working, the scepter couldn't draw upon the magic. It would be useless. All of this speculation is worthless as well. You can't render the scepter useless without completing the containment rune. You can't complete the rune without replacing the headpiece inside the Colossus, and you can't get the headpiece without rendering the scepter useless. A vicious circle.
Where is the scepter now?
When Clytus grew too old to rule, he placed the scepter in the hands of his eldest son, Clytus II, and disappeared. The line is continued unbroken until this day. Clytus XIV now holds the scepter and rules Abarak. I would guess that he has it within his palace.
Let's talk about something else.
Very well.
Do you know how I could get to the Colossus?
The Colossus is located in the middle of the catacombs in the foundation of Clytus's palace. It's said that only the descendants of Clytus I are shown the way through. No one else is allowed in. Even if you were able to sneak back into the palace, I can't imagine how you would find your way to the center of that maze. Besides Clytus, there's no one living who can show you.
That's all I need to know.
As you wish.
No one living.
Yep. Alrighty, so we want to head back to Telestia now. Save. Alright. We want to head back to the clock tower. Alright. Head to the clock of the type tower. I said climb the rope, damn you! Alright, we want to tighten the base. And want to put the vice scepter. Loosen the vice. You twist the screw and slowly the tongs of the scepter begin to wrench apart. After quite a while of intense effort, the stone headpiece falls from the tongue's clutches to the metal platform below. So we want the headpiece. Go to the nursery in the house. Head back upstairs.
The smallest people made their home in caves and caverns.
Sorry, Granny. I'm gonna need that. You slide the book out of the dead Granny's wrinkled hand. She doesn't resist, but no sooner is the book gone, she stops speaking, her eyes go blank, and she sits motionless. Want the children's book. The old man yells at PC, yep. The smallest people made their home, in caves and caverns all their own. They only come outside to play, where the arrows point the way. Which way, you ask, where are they found? Just out of sight, under the ground. Don't look too close, they'll run away, unless the arrows point the way. Yellow night, the sky is bright, all the world filled with light. Just because the sun's above, every heart is filled with love. Hit that snake, hold him fast, don't let him go. Grab him quick or you won't last if you're too slow. So, alright, The nanny stares at the ground, motionless, purposeless.
Who are you?
I'm the nanny of this family. I take care of the children while the master does his research. In fact, I should be reading to the children right now as they go to sleep. Have you seen my book?
Yes, actually, I know where your book is. Accompany us.
Would you accompany me? I know where your book is.
You know where my book is? Please take me to it. I must read to the children. They can't go to sleep without their rhymes. They need me, you see.
Yep, let's go ahead. Let's head back down.
We obtain a geriatric corpse.
Yep. Alright, Hey, Jethro.
Would you accompany me?
And the corpse shuffles beside us and looks at us expectantly. Alright, let's go into the cave. Shallow cave ends in an unnatural wall covered by dwarven symbols. Here, Granny.
Grab the snake and hold him fast. Don't let him go. Grab him quick or you won't last.
The dead worker listens carefully to the rhymes, get that snake. The idea slowly sinks in when he sees the coiled snake in the middle of the cave and shuffles over and grabs it. If a snake could look surprised, you'd swear it was stunned by this hulking corpse. It whips around and bites him, but the worker doesn't even see the noticed. Alrighty, so we want to go ahead and go to the dwarf wall. Turn each corner's, 4 corners once. Right, you walk toward the far wall of the cave. The snake writhes and spits as it tries to escape the dead worker's grasp, but its efforts are futile. The corpse's grip is too strong, and the dead nanny's constant repetition of the command to hold the snake keeps him from forgetting his task and wandering off. Soon you come upon the wall, a collection of 9 stone circles, each with an ornate arrow carved upon it. Alright, cool. Each of the 4 corners once. Then we want fire 4 sides twice. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, and then the center once. The stone symbols click into place and the wall slides away. Beyond, you see a dark tunnel. You steel yourself and walk in. Caves are ancient, carved long ago by dwarves that lived here. Tunnels run off in all directions, so... Alright. Wear the robe. You slip the black robe over your body. Although the back is rather torn from the front, you cut an imposing figure. Talk to the dead dwarf.
My lord Clytus, I knew you would return. I have been faithful. As you asked, I spoke to no one about you. I have waited for you to take me back to the Colossus so that we can complete what we started. Take me with you, my lord, please. Take me with you.
Alright.
Of course. Come with me now. We shall go there immediately.
Yes, my lord. Of course, my lord. Let us go. I'm ready.
Joints unused for centuries creak and pop as he slowly rises to his feet. It's rather disgusting to see how much of his body is left on the cave floor, but surprisingly he succeeds and walks unsteadily towards you. Alrighty. So now we head back to the dragon ship. We're just gonna leave Granny and Jethro to their thing. And we're gonna go head back into Cleitus' palace.
Yeah.
Alright. So we want to head to the cave. Yep. Alright. Start north to the catacombs.
I thought you might be coming back here, and you might need me. The rest of my people are on their way to storm the palace. I came ahead to aid you. I hope you don't mind. I see you're climbing in the social circles.
Yep. I wasn't expecting the Sartan Prince to come back and join us, but hey, more the merrier. Alright.
The Colossus! Break the rune! Break the rune! My lord commands me!
Totally beyond reason, he shoves us aside and charges into the catacombs. Door slams shut behind him, catching his rotted shirt in the door jamb and tearing off a piece of cloth. His footsteps echo as he charges deep into the maze. The door screams appear to have alerted the guards at the top of the stairs. You hear some questioning grunts and some loud stomping. Oops. Let's get another save here. Alrighty.
By oops, do you mean you did not mean to do that?
Yeah. No, we're fine. So we take the cloth, open the door.
We've got the stinking rebel trapped now. Only Cleitus knows the way through the catacombs. He'll be here in a second to track that lowlife down and kill him. You hear me, rebel? You're going to die!
Yep. You leave the door open and wander into the dark tunnels below. You're in a dimly lit chamber within an ancient catacombs. This is fine. We're totally alright. We've got the cloth. Let's just show it to the dog. You hold the cloth in front of the dog. He sniffs at it, then lowers his keen nose to the ground. His ears perk up and points to the north. You're in a dimly lit chamber with ancient catacombs. The dog sniffs a bit and points to the north. You hear a commotion toward the beginning of the catacombs. Cleitus is yelling at guards to stay back and watch the entrance while he enters to take care of the problem. You assume he means you. Alright. So we want to follow the dog to the catacombs. So yeah, we head to the north. Dog points to the north. Dog points to the west. Points to the south. Points to the west. Points to the north. Dog points to the north. The footsteps get closer. From the sound of it, there's only one pursuer, and he's running. He knows the catacombs well, and he's gaining on you fast. Go to the north. Go to the west. Go to the north. The north. Once again to the north. A huge stone spire rises from a pool of lava. Its surface is covered with ancient and mystic runes of the Sartan. The footsteps continue to pursue you very closely behind, so we now cast Unravel Illusion on the rune. So we want to go ahead and as you trace the runes in the air, you start to sense the wrongness of the Colossus. The crux of its magic, the containment rune, was broken and covered up with an illusion. Your spell carefully unties the deception until the illusion completely unravels and falls away. What remains is a hole in the center of the containment room where an important line should be. Without this line to complete the rune, it is powerless and has been ever since the piece of the Colossus was removed. So we want to put the headpiece in the hole. You place the copy of the headpiece on the hole and in the containment rune. It slips and slides smoothly and firmly. The lines carved on top of the headpiece connect with the remainder of the rune and complete the spell. Immediately, the rune begins to glow. It's not very bright, but you sense the spell is working. The Colossus's magic is being held inside the spire. None is leaking out as it did before.
Patron, I knew you would be trouble. I should have killed you when I first had the chance. And the young prince as well. It seems that I have been far too generous lately. I'll have to rectify that.
Yep, Clytus himself comes charging into the room. The Sartan lifts his scepter and holds it dramatically in front of his body, but nothing happens. He tries it a few more times, staring in disbelief, and the prince laughs, draws his sword, and pounces on the confused Dynast. Clytus doesn't have the sense enough to scream, but looks bewildered by the sword wound left by the prince's attack. He topples into the moat of magma surrounding the Colossus as the powerless scepter falls from his lifeless fingers.
So, Haplo, you are a patron. I know about your race. Balthazar taught me well. This should make us enemies, but you have helped me. You have helped my people. Perhaps you did this for your own reasons, but I owe you a debt of gratitude, and I still consider you my friend.
Yep, as he steps over and picks up the scepter, hefting it with one hand, while he holds the sword in the other.
I thought that this was my most valued possession. Now I know that I value my subjects, my world, more. I want you to have it, to make certain that you do not forget us. If Abarak is to survive, we must be linked to the other worlds, and you are the only one that can do this.
So yeah, now that the pendant that we asked about for him earlier, he actually hands it over to us now.
Take the seal piece. Go back to your ship, through Death's Gate. Save this world, Haplo, my friend. We need you. Now, I must clean this palace of the filth Clytus left here. My people should be in position by now.
He nods and walks away back into the catacombs. Oh, and while we're here, yoink! We grab the stone seal piece from its honored place. Alrighty.
Nice.
So...
Yeah, I almost missed that until I saw it while you were reading that out.
Yep.
Tab, old man kneels at PC.
Yep. Let's go ahead and get out of here. We wander back through the catacombs to the entrance. So let's go ahead and, yeah, you hear a skirmish at the top of the stairs. The prince's men are clearing the place of Clytus' entrenched fortress. You decide that it's better to stay the fuck out of these particular conflicts. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and get out of here.
It's going down. Everyone on deck.
Let's go ahead and use magic on the pendant. We're going to go ahead and do rune transfer. Go ahead and do the pendant onto the steering stone, and we'll go ahead and we'll head back to the Nexus. I'm actually kind of surprised we got through World of Abarak with as quickly as we did. I kind of expected that was going to take us a lot longer.
By the way you sounded earlier, I thought we were in for a longer one, yeah.
Yeah. Alright. There you go, Zar. Boop. You produced the stone seal piece while recounting your macabre experiences on Abarak. Quite unexpectedly, instead of focusing on the large number of surviving Sartan there, Zar asked you to elaborate on the art of necromancy, and he even asked to see the spellbook that shows the spell.
It appears that these Sartan have done our job for us. By using necromancy unchecked for thousands of years, they've decimated their own race. I'm sure it's fair to assume that there are only a few stragglers remaining in the other realms, like your Zifnab, if any are left alive at all. The survivors in Abarak don't sound strong enough to resist us. In fact, they are in the midst of a civil war. Once the world is reformed, the resulting chaos will be perfect for our army to walk in and destroy both sides.
Tim, Abarak Metreon Zenthos.
You've done your job well.
That sounds
There's
ominous.
only one world
Where are you
left,
gonna get this
and
army?
I hope what you will discover there will be no surprise. Many coffins filled with dead Sartan. If you haven't already, Take the amulet that your prince was foolish enough to give you and transfer it to your steering stone. Go to Celestra and bring back its seal piece. We're very close, Heplo. I can feel it.
I mean, we've already gone ahead and did... we've already done that once before, so...
You said that it was necromancy unchecked that killed the Sartan. Does that mean you'd consider using it with limits?
Do you understand the potential of that spell? An army whose numbers never diminish, whose members get stronger after they die. What force could stand against it? Naturally, we'd have some other deaths to compensate, but they'll be manageable. After a few skirmishes, the mere threat of our army would be enough to enjoin surrender. Then we wouldn't need to use the spell anymore. Until that happens, there are always losses in war.
Prince Edmund placed his faith
Sounds
in
like
me to
Overlord
save his
talk
world.
to me.
That's why he gave me the amulet.
This is from the race that consigned you to an eternity of torment, and he asks you for help. Are you seriously considering his plea? Look at his situation. His people squabble among themselves like mensch. Even now, they are in the throes of a civil war. Naturally, he wants you to help him. You represent the greatest threat his kind has ever known. He must not have realized what his amulet would mean to us, but it is our responsibility to take advantage of it.
Real stand-up guy, that Tsar.
You don't just represent yourself. You are the vanguard for our entire race. Don't let your emotions get in the way of your mission. I'd hate to have to cut it short. Look deep inside yourself. You'll find that you are a patron. You were whelped by the labyrinthine fires of hate. Hate for the accursed Sartan that put you there. I can trust you, Heplo, because you are a reflection of me. You are my son, as all patrons are my children.
Yeah, I'm kind of beginning to question that, but, you know.
Have you learned anything new about the 6
That sounds
Sartan
like
devils
talk.
that you were researching?
It happens that I'm very close to finishing my research. I have linked 4 of the devils to the spells that they were responsible for, and the other 2 aren't long in coming. Unfortunately, one of those 2 created the Reformation spell, so I cannot stop now. That's the spell I really need. The ones I uncovered, the original Sundering, something called the Interconnection, etc., are useless to me. But as I said, I'm very close.
Alright.
That's enough for right now. I'd like to talk to you later if you don't mind.
Very well. I'll be here.
Yep. Alright, let's go ahead and, let's head on to Celestra. World of Water.
Seven out of 8. Too much water.
Upon leaving the Death Gate, your ship is surrounded by water. A light from an underwater sun glints off the crystalline domes of orbiting moons. Underneath the nearest, you see an entrance, so you'll guide your ship inside.
Under the sea, under the sea. Come where it's better. It is better. Take it from me.
World of Watercraft, says Tim. Your ship is landed on a beach which rises to a dark cave on the rock wall. A shimmering city lies to the west. You notice that the stone you're holding has begun to glow a faint green. It also dingles a bit in your hand. So Zifnab wasn't lying at all. This stone isn't just an ordinary rock. It does indeed glow. So, let's go ahead and take some water and fill it up with water. Or, yeah, say the clear bottle. Go to the city gate. Where is the city? Where is the city? You walk toward the cave, but as you get closer, you begin to feel fear gnawing at your insides. You felt fear before in the labyrinth, but nothing like this. There's nothing around to inspire such terror, but every step you take toward the caves make you want to claw your eyes out. Before you're halfway there, you've collapsed on the ground. Magic, you reason. It must be magic. Oh, can't even put the whole... Not a drop. Spare. Alright. Where is the city gate? Okay, here we are. A thick wall surrounds a city-sized glowing dome. In front looms a gate upon which is a huge graven spell. You get the distinct impression you are being watched. Look at the spell. You recognize the spell from Balthazar's book. It is a warding spell designed to keep out foreign magic. Unfortunately, it also keeps everything else out, including you. So cast Rune Transfer on the second rune bone from the left. So let's go ahead. Rune Transfer. Cast that on the city spell. You transfer the symbol from the rune bone onto the city gates. Immediately, the rune appears at the end of the spell, modifying it from a powerful ward to a possession spell. Since the possession spell has none of the qualities of a warding spell, indeed it is a very useless spell to place on a city gate, the magic dome falls away to reveal the glistening capital city of the Sartan. The sight takes your breath away. You find it very hard to regain your lost breath as you are suddenly struck by a wave of terror. All of the glittering you've experienced before this are nothing compared to the fear that grips you. You've never, ever been so terrified. The sheer emotional impact throws you to your knees. Blood rushes into your ears. A shriek emerges from the depths of your being. In the labyrinth, you've always used your fear to your advantage. It made you quicker and smarter. But this fear is unreasoning. You cannot control it. You cannot use it. You don't even know what is causing it. Wild-eyed, you'd almost break your neck swinging your head around, trying to spy the source, but it isn't long in coming. A black taloned claw strikes at your back and sends you sprawling into the sand. You twist around, but cannot rise. You stare into the blood-red eyes of a dragon. They show you your death, and you can but gibber in response.
Ah, a patron. I hope that if I let you live and watched for a while, you would succeed where I have failed for so many, many years. And you have. You have opened the city to me. My magic was useless against that infernal spell. But you understand those mystic runes. You changed it somehow. I am grateful to you, patron. In return, I will give you a quick death. Painful to be certain, but quick.
Say hello to Sangdrax! You find...
How accommodating
Go ahead.
Sorry, how accommodating of you.
Yep.
Kill me quickly but harmfully.
Yep. You find that words completely fail you. You lie helpless, trembling under the claw of Sangdrax. He rears back, inhaling. Flames leak from his nose and mouth, and when he appears about ready to loose his fiery blast, something catches his eye. Immediately he curtails his attack to stare at the brightly glowing stone that Sifnab gave you.
What is this? This wasn't made by that puny rune magic that you use. How did you come by it?
You can't even form the first word of an answer, and it seems that this dragon doesn't really expect one. His other foreclaw reaches out and delicately removes the stone from your possession. He draws the stone up to his eye for closer inspection, and in reaction he hisses and roars and waves his neck back and forth, wildly, sinuously, spouting flame everywhere. He whips his mane back and forth, if you will.
This should not exist! It is impossible! There is only me, Sangdrax! I am the way! You don't mind if I relieve you of this stone, do you? You will certainly have no need of it shortly.
He tosses the stone away and falls upon a pile of rocks of similar shape and size. The only way you can distinguish it from the others is by its shine, which is like the sun. Suddenly you take notice of a furry form splayed on the ground. You realize that your dog has been silently crawling towards you on its belly, braving the aura of fear that keeps you helpless. Every inch is a struggle, and it seems that at any second the dog will bolt, but it keeps coming. When it gets near, a quiet whimper escapes its throat, barely audible, but loud enough to attract the attention of Sangtrax.
This is your rescue? A life form lower than yourself? I will give it this. The dog is certainly braver than you, patron.
The dragon rears back and fills the cavern with laughter. This gives the dog just enough time to crawl within reach. It looks at you plaintively, even putting its muzzle into your outstretched hand.
Perhaps the dog is wishing you a fond farewell. It knows what is about to happen. I was simply going to kill you, but I've reconsidered. I won't merely end your life, patron. I will eliminate every trace of you. I am going to destroy your soul. You will no longer exist on this or any other plane. You should not have brought that stone into my presence. Prepare yourself for oblivion, patron.
The dragon rears back again. You assume that no distraction is going to keep it from completing its task this time. You take one look at your struggling companion and draw some strength from his bravery. You might have the wherewithal to do something if only you can figure out what to do. Such as casting... Actually, let's do something stupid.
Something stupid?
Let's do something stupid. Let's take over his body. This is not going to work.
No, I imagine not.
You can't bring yourself to grab a hold of the dragon, even if his spell had a prayer working. Okay, I thought that was just gonna like... Alright.
Yeah, make him laugh at your pitiful display of trying to possess the mighty dragon.
Yeah, alright, let's just cast possession on the dog. We trace the runes in the air and place your hand on the dog's scruffy fur. So, yep, everything goes dark. Your soul flies into the dog's body just as Sangtrax let loose the blast of fire. The dog's reflexes leap you away, keeping you from harm. This, however, does not save your body. The flaming column burns a hole clear through the chest, and you can actually see the glowing rock floor below.
Now to take care of his mangy pets.
He breathes in, preparing another blast. You bolt into the city, narrowly missing the dragon's second torrent of flame. Scared almost out of your mind, you dart into the cluster of buildings. Pad in the narrow alleys and twisting side streets. Soon, when you feel like you might have lost the dragon, you wander into an open building. Road figures are filling the seats surrounding you. They all move slowly, yawning as if just awakened. A man in the front notices you and approaches. This is the meeting chamber of the Sartan High Council. Seats ring the speaking area where you stand.
What do we have here? A dog? I haven't seen a dog for ages. But then again, I've been asleep for that long. Hello, boy. I'm Sama. How'd you get in here? Did you come with the Sartan forces from the other realms?
He crouches down, gives your head a pat, and looks deeply into your eyes. Suddenly, his face goes stone sober, and his eyes grow hard. He retracts his hand, as if fearful of you biting it off.
This dog
I'll be
is
right
no
back.
dog.
Right.
It is a vessel for another's soul. The soul of a patron.
The councilmen gasp and yell, but Sama waves his hands and the room quiets.
We found no other Sartan, no rescue forces. All we discovered were the charred remains of one man and these items,
Which they dump onto the floor unceremoniously. As two men walk into the room bearing our possessions.
Friends, we have a very unusual situation. Our ward has fallen. This roused us from our slumber as predicted. But instead of greeting the Sartan rescue forces as we expected, all we find is a dog carrying a patron's soul. We need answers, and the only source is this patron. While he exists inside of the dog, he cannot communicate. I suggest that we restore the patron to his original form so that we can question him. Bring a patron here? To our very heart? Have you forgotten that the patrons are our mortal enemies? I say leave him in the dog's body. Soon he'll forget he ever was a patron, and he'll be no threat to us. Do you know what is happening out there? Where are our fellows? Why is this patron here? How long have we slept? It is very possible that the patrons have been rehabilitated as intended. Perhaps this is our rescuer. Is this how you would treat such a guest? No. We shall restore him, and we shall have our questions answered then. It is the only way. Whatever you might think of me, Councilman, I am no fool. You may prepare the nullification element. We will administer it to the patron after he is restored.
Yeah, Tim says he suggests they restore Patreon to its original form, yep. The councilman folds his arms and stares...
If only.
And the councilman folds his arms and stares sternly at Sama, unwilling to cross him, but unwilling to risk displaying his feelings. The councilman grunts in approval, then fetches a bottle filled with water. He traces a quick spell in the air which flows into the liquid, and after a moment of light, the bottle looks absolutely normal. You notice that while you are watching the lone Sartan and his bottle, the entire council has gathered around you. Together, they weave an incredibly complex spell that appears to require them all. Like a blanket, the spell falls over you and sinks into your flesh. The dog's body reacts violently to the Sartan magic. Limbs stretch, tendons pop, your bones start to expand and twist. You loose yowls of pain one after another, but notice that each one sounds a little more like a human scream than the last. Finally, you lay on the ground, panting and hurting, but what seems to be in your old, comfortable body. You feel hands draw you up and clothe you in the garments that remain from the dragon's attack. Then someone pours cool, clear water down your throat, which you accept eagerly.
What have you done to me, Sartan? You've taken my magic away!
Yep, you drank all the water offered and notice a tingling sensation. But somehow the water has removed your ability to cast spells and you are as helpless as a newborn against these Sartan.
Calm, my friend. What we have done is temporary, and for your protection as much as ours. You have imbibed some nullified water. This eliminates all of your magical possibilities. While you cannot bring any possibilities into this reality, neither can any be placed upon you. This means that although you cannot cast any spells, you are invulnerable to others' magic as well. You have been nullified. It will continue for only as long as we need to question you. Now let us begin. Who are you? Why are you here? How did you get into the city?
Aren't you the same Sama who originally sundered the world? Who banished my people into the labyrinth?
Yes, I am that. I know that you can't understand this, but it was all necessary. It was part of a larger plan. I'll explain everything after you tell me what you know.
Why should I trust you?
I'm not sure why you shouldn't. I don't even know if we should be enemies. I'm relying on you to tell me this. I'll make you this promise. If you are honest and forthright with me, I will respond to you in kind. I'll answer any questions you have. Now please, tell me what you know.
Yeah, EJ was like, yeah, poor doggy, yep.
I've seen your plan in
Rest
action.
in peace,
You couldn't have
doggo.
done more damage to more lives if you tried.
I'm starting to get that impression, although I am loath to believe it. If you would tell me your story, I would understand much better.
Do you know how long you've been sleeping?
Not really. I'm starting to think that it may have been much longer than I intended.
You've been asleep for over 2,000 years.
2,000 years? How is that possible? You must tell me what has happened. This just keeps getting more confusing.
All right, Sartan. You want the truth? I'll give it to you.
You launch into a tirade, personally blaming Sama for leaving the labyrinth masterless, turning it into a slaughterhouse that has thirsted for your people's death. You recount the thousands of years of struggle and bloodshed, which even now plagues your race. You describe your lord's unprecedented escape and tell how he selflessly and safely led others, including yourself, out of the labyrinth. You state that his thirst for revenge against the Sartan is unequaled.
If you kill me, others will follow. Even now, our army outnumbers that of the surviving Sartan. I've seen your forces. I know where they are, and I know that my lord will destroy them effortlessly. You can't win.
You continue by recounting your experiences and describing the state of the Sartans on each of the worlds. Sama cries openly at the description of the dead Sartan and the crystal resting places on Arianis. He seems genuinely confused by the antics of Zifnab on Prian. He recoils on learning of the practice of necromancy on Abarak, and he listens closely to the account of your battle with Sangdrax and of your escape.
I have much to say about what you have told me. Your people, you have been wronged. I wish I could change what has happened, but I cannot. It seems that we took on far too much. We thought we were gods, that we were infallible. We weren't. And both of our races have paid the price. However insane you think it might have been, there was a purpose to the plan. We tried to create worlds in which the Mensch would thrive once they were united and the realms were interconnected. What your lord seeks to do is collect all of the seal pieces to reform the original world. He doesn't understand what this means. His efforts will result in the death of many of the Mensch left alive in the new realms. Perhaps he does understand. By decimating the opposing force even before the war is joined, he ensures his success. I'm not sure the Mensch left alive will enjoy the slavery he undoubtedly plans for them. What he may not realize is that this will affect his own race as well. Many of his people will die in the Reformation. Do you think he would risk that?
You know your lord's ambition, and from his research he probably already knows how the Reformation will affect the Mensch, and how you suspect he may be willing to sacrifice his own people to further the cause of conquest. You understand that he views you individually as expendable, but just how far does his view of expendability extend? He has claimed in the past that there are always casualties in war.
You may be right, Sama. I'm not sure about your plan, but perhaps the Reformation isn't the correct path. I'll return to my lord and discuss it. For now, I'll leave your seal piece here.
I'm very glad that you see things this way. I hope that we can begin a new era of peace together. Go back to your lord. Tell him that I will gladly speak with him. But I have one important question before you go. What exactly happened to Sangdrax after you escaped from him?
That is a very good question. As you consider the question, one of the men who brought your possessions in the room begins to writhe. He tears off his robe and metamorphosizes into the gigantic shape of Sangdrax. The Sartan dive for safety behind the benches. Only Sama and yourself remain standing out in the open. Sangdrax ignores the assembly, glides over to the seal piece upon the wall, and grabs it between two talons.
Thank you, patron, for painting such a vivid picture of all of the worlds, including your own, that lovely place called the Labyrinth. Definitely a realm after my own heart. You see, I feed on fear and chaos, and I can't see a better way to produce such things than by allowing your lord to proceed with his plan. However, since you appear to have lost your nerve, I'll have to take your place.
The dragon's eyes focus on us, but for some reason you don't experience that wave of fear that accompanied his presence at your last meeting. Alongside of you, Sama is shivering. He looks absolutely terrified.
Your lord trusts you, does he not? Especially when you are doing what he wants. I shall take your ship, go to the Nexus, and deliver this seal piece to him. I'm guessing that it will complete his collection. Then I shall lead him to the Vortex where he can perform the rite of reformation. I'm so sorry you decided to turn against your lord. I'm sure that he doesn't view traitors in a very good light.
Yeah, as he shifts his form, you swear you were looking into a mirror.
I do hope you won't die in the ensuing chaos. All of you. I'd love to meet you again. We have much to discuss, and an eternity of pain during which we can discuss it.
And he casually strolls out of the building before you can say another word. Only after the dragon is left do the councilmen emerge. Sama unclenches his jaw and forces himself to stop shaking.
Why wasn't I affected by the dragon's aura of fear? It sure had me in its grasp last time I encountered it.
That's because you had been nullified. Remember, nullifying water eliminates your vulnerability to magic, as well as your ability to cast spells. Sangdrax's aura of fear didn't affect you because no magic could affect you.
If that's so, why didn't you all tank up with the water and go after him? His magic wouldn't do a thing against you.
This is true, although we would be helpless as well as invulnerable. While the water was in effect, we would not be able to use our magic against Sangdrax. We could only confront him physically. He can choose any form. In a purely physical battle, he would destroy us hands down.
Can't you stop Sangdrax?
No, I'm afraid not. His magic is too powerful for us to oppose. When we first arrived here, we built this city and placed the Mensch inside the other sea moons. Stone-enclosed islands much like this one. Shortly thereafter, Sangdrax appeared. We don't know where he came from. Unprovoked, he launched an attack against us. He never destroyed us all, just killed a few people. But it was enough to keep us scared and confused. We never had a chance to defeat him. He commands some form of magic that is foreign to us, more powerful than the rune-based magic that we use. We erected the ward around the city as a last-ditch effort against him. Evidently, it worked. The ward was designed to keep out all foreign magic. Since he consisted almost entirely of pure magic, he could not enter. We decided to enter our sleep capsules. We expected that when the others had learned that we were in danger, they would gather here to help us defeat Sangdrax. We keyed our awakening to occur when the ward had fallen, assuming that it would happen only when the other Sartan had arrived. We never dreamed that thousands of years would pass before the ward fell. Now that it has, Sangdrax is loose. Not only is he a threat to us, but with your ship, he has access to all of the worlds. And if he succeeds in causing the Reformation, we'll all probably die in the process anyway.
You know, Zifnab gave me a stone to use against some ultimate evil. Do you think this might prove effective against Sangdrax?
I don't know. Tell me about it. It sounds like this might be some other kind of magic. Perhaps made from the same source that created Sangdrax himself. It may be that Sangdrax is vulnerable to it. Where is it? I didn't see it along with your possessions.
Sangdrax got hold of the stone and tossed it into a pile of rocks which look exactly like it. I don't have a clue which one it is.
I'm afraid I can't help you there. I never saw the stone to begin with, so I wouldn't be any help in finding it now, lost among similar rocks. I do hope you're able to get it back, though. Judging from the way Sangdrax reacted to it, it sounds as if that stone is our only hope to defeat the dragon.
How did Sangdrax take my form?
That's one of his powers. He can assume the form of anyone or anything he desires. The talent renders him insidious as well as invincible.
Where is Sangdrax leading, my lord? The Vortex?
Yes. The Vortex is the one place that the Reformation ritual can be enacted. It is where we originally sundered the world. It's also the only place where the interconnection can begin.
Where is the Vortex?
The only place from which the Vortex can be entered is in the Labyrinth. We reasoned that this would be the safest place to hide the portal. It may be that your lord will balk at traveling the length of the Labyrinth again the wrong way, but Sangdrax can be very persuasive. He will convince him, one way or another.
What exactly is the interconnection?
We designed the realms to work together. Each had specific functions to perform in the overall plan. The interconnection was to tie all of the worlds together. Abarak would produce raw materials. Arianas would take those materials and refine them to produce manufactured goods. Prian would supply power to the other worlds. Celestra was to provide a place for most of the people to live and purify some of the toxins from the other worlds, notably Abarak. The realms were never designed to survive on their own for an extended time, and yet that's exactly what they've had to do. It's not too late, though. From what you've told me, Abarak is dying. The interconnection is the only thing that can save it. It's the only alternative to Reformation.
How do you start the interconnection?
Much like the Reformation, it requires all 5 of the seal pieces. In the center of the vortex is a floating island. It has 4 spires. Each spire represents an element: air, fire, stone, and water. The seal pieces must be placed upon each corresponding spire. Then the spell itself must be ignited. This is done by placing the focus over the correct rune and inserting the Nexus seal piece into it.
Spires? Focus? What are you talking about?
Well, you did ask. The floor of the island is laid out with many interconnecting runes. Each rune can be used to ignite a distinct spell. Depending on the rune you choose, the function of the spell will be different. The Reformation requires that the spell be ignited from one particular rune, the interconnection, another. The focus is a hexagonal frame that floats over the island's floor. You can move it over the rune of your choice. When you place the Nexus seal piece inside of it, the focus automatically ignites the rune under it, which casts the spell.
And Tim says, it has 4 spies, each with its own crab. To which EJ snorts.
Which is the starting rune for the interconnection spell?
It would be too difficult to describe. Though I will tell you that we left the focus over that rune. We intended to return and ignite the interconnection spell someday.
Let's back up a step.
Certainly.
Do you have another ship that I can use to pursue him?
Yes, certainly. In fact, as we've been speaking, I've had another ship placed in the same port where you landed. You're welcome to it. There is, however, one problem. We seem to be a little short on steering stones. It takes quite a while to magically prepare a stone sphere to accept the naming runes that guide a ship through the Death Gate. The only such stone we have is the ceremonial globe in this very chamber, and you can't use that.
Don't you think saving the worlds is worth sacrificing your precious ceremonial globe?
Not at all. You see, the globe was placed in this room before the building's construction was complete. It's too large to fit through any of the exits. It's also far too heavy to move any distance by hand. You're welcome to it if you can find a way to transport it. But then, it doesn't have any of the naming runes on it anyway. I don't think that the globe is the solution to this problem.
Could we talk a little about the other worlds?
Very well. What would you like to know?
Do you know who Zifnab is?
I know of no Zifnab, but I doubt that is his true name. He sounds like a valuable ally if he knows as much as you say and has access to magic outside of our mastery.
Why'd you react so strongly when I told you about necromancy?
Necromancy was banned for many reasons soon after it was discovered. The most important reason being that when someone dead is raised, someone else will die untimely. This maintains the balance. By relying on necromancy, the people of Abarak have doomed our race. The magic doesn't recognize the boundaries of the realms. It kills Sartan as far away as Arianas and Prion. It wiped out thousands.
Equivalent
Why is everyone
exchange,
here alive and well?
It's actually ironic. The ward that we constructed to repel the magic of Sangdrax must have had the effect of repelling the magic of necromancy as well. It kept us alive against 2 dangers. But now, we only have hundreds of people left, where once we had tens of thousands. We shall try to reconstruct our lives, to help our brethren on Abarak, if there is a world left to live on.
So yeah, it's kind of like a two-pronged reason why the people on Celestra wasn't revived until now, because there was no there were no Sartan coming to save them.
Let's go back a step.
Certainly.
Yep, they all died.
Talk. Now's the time for action.
Very well. If I can be of any further assistance, do not hesitate to ask.
Alright. So that you noticed that sometime during your conversation with Sama, the nullification spell wore off. You now have command of your magic back again. So, alright. So we now have null water. Yep, null water, yep. Cancel. Let's go ahead and cancel that. We only have about... We only have a short while to actually have to do anything about that, so... we'll go ahead and actually we'll leave that there for now.
Alright.
Alright.
We'll overwrite the save game because we don't really have much to go. We have a little bit... We still have a little bit to do here on Celestria. But, not as much as we would have to do on Abarak, I don't think. So, we will go ahead and check our status. Oh, we finally hit 4 digits. We've amassed 1,065 points out of a grand total of 1,500. I did save this, right? override again, just to be safe. And we'll go ahead and we'll quit.
Alright.
So, I would go ahead and continue to stream, but like I said, we're about 15 minutes from ending anyway, and unfortunately, like I said, I do have to work tonight. You know, I am kind of considering, let's see, we got the Vortex. We're actually pretty close to the end of the game, aside from finishing up here on Trelestra. If we'd like, we could just go ahead and continue this tomorrow and just put this to bed.
Wait, don't you have a thing with Shell Shock?
Oh, you're right. I completely forgot. Duh. Okay, yes. Change of plans then. Tomorrow will be the entire thing with Shell Shock. Thank you for reminding. I completely forgot about that. Yes, tomorrow is indeed the podcast with Sharing with Shell Shock. We will be going ahead and talking about the PlayStation 2 with him. In that case, we will just go ahead and we will just continue this on Wednesday, because I will be having Tuesday and Wednesday off. We'll just go ahead and we'll just finish this up on Wednesday.
Sounds good. And then if you got extra time, we could just jump into something else.
All right, sounds good to me. So
yeah.
All right. But yeah. Just I will be, once again on the Discord, be placing the link to Shell Shock Prime's, Twitch channel. So we will be going ahead and talking about that tomorrow. Feel free to come on by if you have any questions for us on that. Like I said, we will be talking about PlayStation 2. So thanks everybody for coming on by. We will go ahead and end this here. This has been Mr. Ben.
This is Jay Smith.
It's Radio Doug.
DM21.
Wishing you all a wonderful evening. We will see you guys tomorrow for some Sharing with Shell Shock. Take care, everyone.
Wait, see you folks.
Later, guys.
Good night.